What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That right there is your girl, Adara, and I am Sharif. And as per usual, we're going to wait for everyone to head on over from the other stream. We already have a couple of people in the chat. We got Pillsbury and the Crazy Stitch Lady. Hello to you too as well. We'll wait for some more people to migrate on over, and then I'll tell you about this trade that I took here. There we go. We got Andrew Chow. We got Jameson. We got Trader Drew, Benson Yang, Mr. John. Hello, Mr. John. We got James Dell, Patrick Ling, Lloyd Pedro. We got Kazam. We got Mark Susi. There we go. Dave Bench. Do you bench press? I'm going to start doing Adara stuff now, I got to tell you. We got Big, Kyle Burdett, Anu View, Lamar, Callum Mitchell Miller. We got Jose. We got Ken. We got Elon Musk. And then we got TX Trader. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is having a great hump day. It is midweek, so, you know, midweek blues a little bit. How you doing today, Adara? I
am fabulous. I have no complaints here. Their stocks are playing puns with us, which we will talk about, I'm sure, in a moment, because that is your thing to share. But yeah, I will say, really exciting day, Fed day, crazy earnings day. So much to discuss. Eli Lilly's running an above a milli, so everyone is happy and in a good mood and very excited to talk about exhaustion gaps, I do hope.
Oh, yes. We will get to that topic right in a second. Today, guys, we are talking about exhaustion gaps. Recall, Monday, initiation gaps or breakaway gaps. Yesterday, continuation gaps. Today, exhaustion gaps. So the reversal of the trend, and tomorrow we're going to be talking about common gaps and how to spot those bad boys because they are the bamboozlers of the gap world. Let's talk quickly here about Jerome Powell. Apparently has his own stock here, Adara. POWL up well over 50% on the day, and we participated in this name. But look, we got in late, and in addition to getting in late, this one has to be traded very carefully. The spreads are wild, 50, 60 pennies at times. We got into this bad boy at 122. We rode it into 124 and a third, so we got a two-banger there, and then we got out when it came back into our break even. Didn't even give this any room. As soon as it crossed that 122, that was all she wrote. Powell, P-O-W-L. I don't even know what this is up for. Let's find out. Here's a catalyst. Powell Industries shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q1 financial results. When in doubt, just trust Adara because she had that spot on. Yeah, so Powell on there as well. I saw somebody yelling in the chat about Boeing. Apparently Boeing is at day's highs. It is pumping here, baby. Let's have a look at BA. It trades on the New York. I'll get to my Apple trade in a second, but we want to have a look at Boeing because that's all the rave right now. 5%, Adara, that's what you get when you blow the door off your airplane. The market rewards you with a $10 winner on the day. We're almost up 10 bucks on Boeing. Not quite, $9.90. What a great move up into that 211 area. Obviously, Boeing reported this morning. It was obviously another tough quarter for them, but probably better than what analysts were looking. Anyway, we're doing the dance here at 210, in between 210, 211. We'll have a look at that in a second. But let's get to this AAPL trade. And we're long Apple, baby. We're long here at 185 and a quarter. We just got a beak wetter through the break of the $0.50. However, I have to warn you, we are here at VWAP right here. So this is where Apple can turn around. I'm being very careful with how I'm looking at this trade. In addition to the fact that we are at VWAP, this lower high, lower high, lower high trend has to be respected as well. Sure, you have a flat bottom at 185. That's great. So, you know, you could have been, you know, coaxing in for a flat bottom break with the lower highs and then the break decidedly of 185. Doesn't look like we're going to get that quite yet. That may materialize later in the day. What I am watching, though, number one, is if we break VWAP on a closing basis on the 5. That's number one. Number two, if we get above that 185.80, because that'll take us through that high over here. So I'm watching intently here on AAPL to see if we can continue to move into the high side. If so, fantastic. If not, I'll get out. I have right now my stop is below 185, but because I've wet my beak here on the ascent up, I will likely adjust my stop a little bit to trail and not give as much back at Dara. I saw you talking about Lily there. Anything you want to mention about Lily before we get to the lesson?
Yeah, I mean, I will talk about Lily. I will lament on Lily in a moment, but first I want to talk about NVIDIA because I have it open right now and I drew my trend lines and we know that's a struggle for me. So I like this up. I'm joking, I just can't draw them very well. I have 3 areas I like on Lily and I like them in either direction if we either hold it as resistance or support. Numero uno. Actually, no, there's 4. So first, this kind of 608, 607 base, because we kind of bounced off that decently. However, this was a slightly lower low. Second, that 613 area. Why? We kind of consolidated up to it, had a nice burst up, jumped back down, came back up. Now we're kind of having an issue getting above it again. So 613, level 2, I guess, or level 3, is that 614 area, nice little chop and churn base around here. Fly back up, then swoop back down. Number 4, this skosh of a peak around that 619. We did get higher than 619, but I would say the 619 definitely held better than that 620. Lots of consolidation, clearly an area of resistance here, that 619 area on NVDA. So yeah, no need to feel envy, DA, on this one, as long as you have your levels and you get involved. I also do want to look at Eli Lilly because when do I not, in all honesty? But yeah, so she is above a milli. I'm looking for a dip buy opportunity. I did not want to go chasing waterfalls with this stock just of how quickly it runs. But why I wanted to get involved here, and I was talking to Sharif about this off camera, this 637 base is, I think, a force to be reckoned with. 5-minute chart. Look at this chop and churn. This like 20 minutes here. Then we get a nice push up. I want to see us hold this though, because this was a lot of, a lot of hijinks going on here in Lily. In terms of my out for a long, it would actually be this 644 area where we rejected at least part of that position, because that was where we kind of opened from and where we had a little bit of issues coming back here. Also happens to coincide with my 9 EMA over here.
Bang.
Also, Lamar loves you here with a super chat. $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Lamar loves you. Rum filling, guys, or filing, guys. They need to get above $10 for 20 consecutive days to meet requirements to raise capital. Most likely we will break 10 over time. Sunglass emoji. Let's look at rum.
Yeah, it's up big today, almost 7% a day, or 6.9%. It's a good looker. Ooh. I can bring it up on my chart because I already had it ready, seeing the super chart. Yeah, no worries. This is a look on Rumble. Like I said, 6 3/4, almost 7, was above 7 at that latest crest over here through the break of 660. Look, Rumble has been a beast ever since, the Donald Trump man started taking those primaries. Hit it, Katina, man. Ever since he started winning the primaries, we saw DWAC go, we saw Funware go, Rumble, anything kind of, let's not get into the politics, conservative, Donald Trump related, has been running. We'll keep an eye on Rumble. And I have it on my side chart, by the way, and I've had it since it started running, and it's been green every day. So point well taken, Lamar. Rumble has been strong, and we'll definitely keep an eye on that. It's not eye-watering, double-digit strong, but 7%, nothing to sneeze at, and especially like you said there, that $10 area, we're only about $3 away. So we'll have to see how that all works out. All right, guys, we're already behind, so let's get going here. Today, we are talking about exhaustion gaps. And exhaustion gaps are very important because they basically signal the reversal of a prolonged trend. And we need to know for a number of reasons. One, if you're long, you want to take profits, or at least, get out the majority of the position, de-risk. And if you're a bear, or if you're a trader in general, you want to know when the idea of when things are going to start turning around, when the price action is going to start turning around to the other side, because then you can take that short, right? So let's talk a little bit about this. So introduction. Exhaustion gaps are vital patterns in technical analysis that traders use to identify potential reversals in market trends. These gaps occur when significant price movement signals that a trend may be reaching its limits, indicating potential, believe it or not, exhaustion among market participants. What are some of the characteristics, though, of these type of gaps? Because that's how we're going to spot them. Volume surge. We've been talking a lot about volume. Ramram, can we show the picture so that I can identify? Thank you. Volume surge. We've been talking a lot about volume and gaps. So for the breakaway gaps, the initiation gaps, we said we needed above average volume, and the above average was relative to how much volume that particular instrument traded. And then for continuation gaps, we said volume had to be lower than the initiation gap. So what we're looking for there on the second continuation gap is lower volume than the first. Now we're going back to having above average volume. So exhaustion gaps are often accompanied by a notable increase in trading volume, reflecting heightened activity as market participants rush to take advantage of the last leg of the trend, And that's what we're talking about here, being able to ID when things are about to go south or north. I mean, because exhaustion gaps work to the south side as well, right? The other characteristic of exhaustion gaps is large price movement. So exhaustion gaps are characterized by a substantial movement in the direction of the prevailing trend. The movement signifies a final push before the market reverses. So what does that mean? It means the gap in the price gap made in the exhaustion gap phase is typically bigger than the one made in the continuation gap. So you have a standard from which you can compare it to, okay? And third, and finally here, the last characteristic of the exhaustion gap is catalyst for reversal. So exhaustion gaps are typically followed by a shift in market sentiment, often triggered by fundamental factors or news that prompt traders to reassess their positions. So typically what happens here is there's a catalyst that actually brings the market right back down, right? So you have the exhaustion gap. It looks like it's continuing to move to the high side. Then something comes in, earnings, a bad news or a good news catalyst for downtrends, right? Something exterior helps propel this thing right back down or push this instrument right back down. So let's look at what we see here on the chart. So this is the breakaway gap, right? The breakaway gap comes out of a period where there's a clear area of resistance that we weren't able to break through. The breakaway gap gets us above that level. Then the measuring gap or the continuation gap typically follows a period of consolidation within the larger trend. So you gap up, in the initiation gap you continue to trend, and then you have a period of sideways price action where the price consolidates and the continuation gap breaks away from that area of consolidation. We talked yesterday about bull flags, pennants, ascending triangles, things basically where you can have some sideways movement, but are also continuation patterns. So for the continuation gap yesterday, we were looking to see whether it confluenced with the continuation pattern that may be present as well. And for this, what we're looking for subsequent to the exhaustion gap is for the gap to get filled. And so that's kind of one of the key indicators there. So you know how there's an expression in trading, all gaps get filled? I don't necessarily think that that's true. But in this case, that's what we're looking for. Neither of the previous gap had been filled. If they were filled, that they were failed gaps. The exhaustion gap, though, typically does need to be filled. Questions or comments, Adair?
Yeah, I think so. Basically, I guess it's proof that we've exhausted the movement if we fill that gap. Then is what you're saying?
Yeah, you know, like I hate to say proof.
No, sorry, I shouldn't have worded that. I guess,
but I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. That's one of the characteristics we're looking for. We're also looking for a catalyst that helps bring things back down. Also, the gap. Once we have an exhaustion gap, we're looking for a price trend down. Previously, the initiation gap, the continuation gap, both had continuations in price higher for bull. Okay. What's it called? For an uptrend. And a downtrend obviously would be lower.
Yeah.
In this particular case, we are looking for a downtrend subsequent to the gap. Not immediately, doesn't have to be immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're looking for price to trend down subsequent to the
So it's the last leg of the movement. Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
I feel my exhaustion gap filling, says Mr. Memes. Give me a break, bro. We're trying to teach out here, man. Let me just see how my beak wetters are doing here on AAPL. Yes, we did get that fill. Now we're sitting at 75 here. We're above VWAP on Apple. I'm waiting for that 75 print if and when it does come through. We're in the low 70s here. So Apple recovering from the shellacking that it had been taking these past 2 days on the back of weaker iPhone sales. We're see if we can continue to print to the high side. It is a perfunctory break right now of VWAP, so I don't want to start celebrating or anything, but it was a nice 185 hold this morning, and let's see if we can get a little bit more, okay? So I am waiting here on AAPL for a 75 fill. I'm talking 185.75, guys, not like $75, right?
It took me a moment. I was like, Apple, what'd you do?
All right, how to ID these bad boys, Adara? How do we know an exhaustion gap from a continuation gap, from an initiation gap? You guys know what I'm talking about. How do we ID these? Ram, if we can go to the chart, please. What? She says no. Ram. All right, guys. So traders employ various tools and techniques to identify exhaustion gaps within their technical analysis. So the first one is, believe it or not, volume analysis. Yes, volume plays an important part in gaps, guys. So pay close attention to trading volume during the gap. An exhaustion gap is often accompanied by a surge in trading volume. So again, we're looking for more volume to take place in the exhaustion gap or during the exhaustion gap than we saw on the continuation gap. So you have a standard with which to compare, which to me that's good news. Apple's pumping here. I can see it on my side chart. Pumped. The Katina man is printing on Microsoft, baby. He talked about 404.50 on the show. It is now at almost 405, 404.95. He's long. The Katina man's printing on Microsoft. So anybody following along with the Katina man, he is long MSFT at the moment. And he's swearing. I don't even know why I said that, but he's swearing at it as well. He's printing and swearing a little bit. You guys know how the Katina man rolls. All right. So the other characteristic, Adara, there is price extremes. For exhaustion gap, one of the characteristics we're looking for is price extremes. Exhaustion gaps often occur after a prolonged trend, reaching extreme price level. Recognizing these extremes is crucial to IDing potential reversal points. And you're asking me, Sharif, how the hell am I supposed to know if we're at extremes or not? Well, typically, we're at 52-week highs. We're at all-time highs. Maybe we're at 6-month highs. You have to do your chart analysis to know, are we at the top end of the range? And if we're at the top end of the range, what percentage? If we're at all-time highs, how much percent are we above the last previous all-time high? Is it 25%? Is it 50%? You have to kind of be attuned a little bit to how that particular instrument trades to be able to know whether that price is extreme or not. So a lot of side analysis has to be done. So price extremes, keep that in mind. And last but not least, confirmatory indicators, Adara, using technical indicators such as oscillators or trend reversal patterns to confirm the signal provides an exhaustion gap. These indicators can add yet another level of confirmation to potential reversals. So by example, when we talked about RSI and price divergence, when price is making a new high and RSI is making lower highs, that is possibly an indicator of a potential price reversal and reaching the market top. Print, Katina, man, print. It's all good. It's Travolta, baby. We can always have Travolta on the show. He's always welcome. And the other thing you can look for are reversal patterns. Remember that week on chart patterns? Head and shoulder patterns. Those are reversals. Double tops, triple tops. These are reversal patterns. Are these patterns appearing after the exhaustion gap? So that's what you're looking for. Use other indicators to help confirm, yes, this looks like we are about to reverse the trend. Questions or comments, Adara?
Yeah, so I guess what's interesting too, what I've kind of learned about gaps I didn't realize is the gap is just step one. What it's really about is what's happening after the gap, and that's what we're talking about here. And I think that's the biggest thing I've kind of realized is because basically the gap is like a little signal like, hey, keep your eye on this. You know what I mean? Stay alert. And then what happens after the gap is what really is going to matter here, right? So I think that's really important. I think also the other thing I've kind of realized, maybe I'm incorrect on this, but nothing's ever 100%, right? So just because you see a gap doesn't mean 1,000%, especially even, an exhaustion gap, for example, that doesn't mean 1,000% this will reverse. And I think also too, what that kind of reminds me of is the whole concept of mean reversion trading as well. And I think this is something I really fell into when I started, is the idea that once something is at or near its peak, you worry that it will kind of go down from there, right?
Exactly.
So I think, just because you see a gap does not mean it will automatically become an exhaustion gap. It's just like, keep your eyes peeled.
Well said.
Find confirmatory evidence should it exist. There you go.
Well said.
Thank you.
All right.
I appreciate that.
Trading strategies. So how do we trade these gaps, baby? Once exhaustion gaps have been identified, traders can implement specific strategies to capitalize on the anticipated trend reversal. So counter trend trading. This becomes a bit of a counter trend trading scenario, so you have to be careful here because that is more inherently risky. So the position oneself in the opposite direction of the prevailing trend, expecting a reversal after the exhaustion gap. Okay, so once we made probably new all-time highs because we're at price extremes. Maybe we fill the gap, maybe we don't, but we start printing lower highs and lower lows, showing that there's a bit of a downtrend in the overall market, in the overall price trend of the instrument. So that's what we're looking for there. And then you have to manage risk here. So implementing strict price or risk management strategies as trading against the prevailing trend can be inherently riskier. Set stop losses to manage potential losses. What I would say is, so this is the gap over here. Like, let's use this chart as an example. Personally, if I had gotten in on the gap fill around here, my stop would be at the break of the top. So I would definitely not want to see a newer high being made. So that's exactly how I would do it. I would always base it on price action. I know some other people like to base their stop losses on average true range, anything else like that. Personally, for me, if I'm trading an exhaustion gap top, I'm getting basically short on the fill of the gap, and I'm putting my stop at the high end of the price range, and I personally don't want to see the making of a new high. Otherwise, that could be a bamboozling trade, and we could possibly trend to the high side again. All right, that is the lesson for now. Oh, sorry, any questions or comments?
No, I think this one's interesting because I know we kept talking about trend trading for the previous one, so this one a little bit different. It is counter trend, and I think with that, where I think some of the continuation patterns might be a little bit easier to read, at least from an outside perspective, I think exhaustion gap would probably require a skosh more confidence before getting involved, because you want to make sure before you get counter trend that this is actually kind of what you're seeing. That would just be my little note on that. But I probably will have more questions as we go over it.
Fantastic.
But yeah, thank you so much for going over that.
All right, how are your trades looking over there?
They're looking. I wish I had more to say. They both have kind of RIP'd on me a little bit. No, I'm joking. NVIDIA is fine. I did short NVIDIA at that VWAP rejection. And why I did that was because I watched this like a couple times. We did get over that 614, and I was about to get out, and I said, no, Adara, we cannot hold that 614. We fell below. The plan here was to take some profit coming into that 613 because we've been doing that bounce very nicely. Watched that a couple times. This might be the last hurrah of this VWAP bounce. But we're in that for now. Also, Starbucks was looking pretty nice, and then it looks like we little decaffeinated a little bit here at that 94.40 rejection. And honestly, you know what? That was where we kind of bounced off from earlier, so I should have been more cognizant of this level. If we hold up above 94, though, I will stay in this trade. If we break below 94 decisively, I am outie. I am leaving the Starbucks, and I will not leave a tip for my barista. Thank you very much. But yeah, NVIDIA curling back down a little bit here, so I'm comfortable staying in this trade for now. I did have my reasons for getting into this trade. And you know, the thing is too, is I talked about this yesterday. I think the biggest thing I'm realizing, there's a difference between being confident and taking trades that do not make sense. And so this trade on its face, that did scare me a little bit. I'm going to be really honest, because I was like, you know what if this bounce is the last time it happened? Thank you so much.
Fantastic entry. Not because just it's at VWAP, but I know what you're looking at. You're looking at that consolidation bottom prior, aren't you?
Yeah.
Can you just point it out to everybody so everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about? Look,
that was what I was looking at, yeah.
Exactly, you come back into that consolidation. So what's your plan here? So if it is to go north against you, right?
Yeah.
If it was to say, no, Adara, I'm going past VWAP, what would your exit be?
My exit was going to be that like 614.50 area. We got above 614 and then we swooped right back down. So I was like, you know what, cool. I have a small position on this, so I am open to add if we hold up above that 613.60 area, but I would do so with a lot of hesitance, just because of the fact that, you know, this VWAP rejection could get us risky. Plans for profit taking would be around that 612, but I do not have a large enough position where I can really take beak wetters. So I'm just going to have to be cautious here.
Fair.
Like I said, too, a big thing I learned yesterday as well, back when I was on my diatribe about learning here, is I think the biggest thing, too, is I do my best when I'm scalping. I think that's why that Citigroup trade yesterday went awry, because it was a good entry point, but I was not prepared to hold the trade for that long, and I panicked and got out. So I think knowing that I have scalpy plans helps me stick to said scalpy plans. And so I think this NVIDIA, that's my plan was for NVIDIA.
Yeah, but I have to talk about Boeing. I mean,
my gosh.
Yeah, Boeing is absolutely rocketing up here. It's up 6 1/3% now. The Katina man hitting that bad boy, because this one, where were we at here? I mean, just not that long ago, we were, what is this showing me? 10 o'clock. Oh, there we go. At 10:30, we were as low as 206.5. Now we're up to 213.5. Boeing is absolutely pumping to the high side here, 6 1/3. I haven't even charted Boeing, so let's maybe just chart Boeing real quick here and figure out where we could encounter resistance on this huge move up. Let's flip to the half-an-hour chart, figure out support and resistance level. Okay, so on this ascent up, I mean, you have a couple of targets you can look at here. On the 22nd and on the 24th, we topped out at 217, kind of a random number to top out at, maybe 215 to 217. What I'd be looking for is for us to hold up near the top end of this consolidation range before we tanked here on the 24th. So this is the area that I'm looking. Now, this gives us like several dollars, depending on whether you're looking at the closing prints or the wicks. So it's 216.5 essentially to 217.5. in and around that area. If we continue there, that may be an interesting area to take profits or to go short on Boeing. But yeah, very strong today, 6.5% now. It's just talking about 6 1/3. Yeah, that's long gone. 6.5%. So this one continuing to pump to the high side. As I say that, Apple coming right back down into that 185.40-ish area. So this is what I'm seeing here. So even though we got that break of VWAP and you got the break of a newer high, look what met us. This double bottom area here that we made it around 9:30 and then again at 9:40. So we came right back down into this area at 186-ish, 185.90, and that's exactly where we topped out here on Apple, right? So support flipping to resistance for now. Do we hold up at this area here? So I want to see if this previous area of resistance is going to act as support, and that takes us into 185.40. So this one keeps heading down into my entry. I'll just cut it. We didn't de-risk the entire position. That's not accurate, but we took about a third of the position out so far. Let me just double check that. How much do we have of that? Yeah, about a third of the position. So we're still holding 2/3 here. So a sizable amount. We'll see if this level gives up the ghost at that let's just say 185.40, or whether we trend right back up from that point. Apple obviously weak on the day. Reports tomorrow, guys. So if you guys are in Apple like myself, you should be ready and make sure to check out the market recap show tomorrow because Apple will be reporting. All right, let's talk about some small cap gappers. Shout out to Nimit. I already talked to you about POWL. Took this bad boy for a $2.50 winner on the 122 break into the 124.5, but it's since kind of broken down below the 10-period moving average and below 120. It's like hovering a little bit below 120. 119.60 is where I see it at right now. So POWL strong. It reported earnings, did real well here. The other one, MINM. Adara was telling you about this one on the small cap recap, and she also put it on the watch list. So this one had an interesting little development because it was active in the pre-market. So you did have a pre-market pop that you could use as a possible entry point for these small cap gappers. So I have basically two rules that have to be met for small cap gappers. One, they have to break through the pre-market high after 9:30, and two, they have to be above VWAP. So this one gave you that, right? Because the pre-market high was there at 385. So if you put your order at 385, you got paid because it went up to 555. Now it is below VWAP though, so it's currently not tradable for me. Trying to hold $4, MINM. The other one, GHSI. This one started pumping yesterday for whatever reason at 6:10 p.m. Yeah, so I guess probably some news catalyst came in at 6:10 p.m., pumped this bad boy into 8 o'clock, and it got a nice little bump there. So from that 6:10 p.m. Pump to that, let's say, almost 7:30, it gained about 76.5% on that one move in the aftermarket yesterday, okay? And then this morning, at 4:30 a.m., it topped out at $13, lucky number 13. However, this did not break the pre-market high. GHSI is what I'm talking about after the bell. In fact, it was below VWAP and it continues to trend down. So this one, not tradable for me based upon my rules. And then Plug Power. I mean, how could you not talk about Plug Power? Up 18%. The hydrogen engine or whatever fuel cell maker there getting an upgrade today from, who was it again? Roth MKM.
Roth MKM, yeah.
Roth MKM upgrading this bad boy. I didn't get to read their comment on why the upgrade, why they gave it an upgrade, but look, up and to the right, straddling VWAP. All the dips into VWAP so far have been bought up, kind of hovering below that 4.5 now. We'll have to see if Plug has any more legs to continue up, Adara.
If Plug has any more power?
Oh, I should have used that. That was like right there for me, and I didn't even take it. Silly me.
I don't know. I enjoyed it. Oh,
Ram does not like puns. Ram, do you like puns? I think she's saying that just to appease you, because she said it so reluctantly. She's like, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty funny. But yeah, so I will some questions about the Starbucks trade. I promise I was not trying to ignore those questions. I just thought it would be easier to say it rather than try to communicate it in the chat. Yeah, this was a bit of an L on this. Why I got in though, and I did get in a little late, is look at this 5-minute candle. We had that big wick down, you know what I mean? And then we were kind of trying to curl back up here. I waited a little bit for confirmation. I did get involved too late. We were up about 15 simulator pennies on this one, and then we fell to the downside. Really, this candle was kind of one of my main indicators here. I was considering short, and then I saw that candle, and I was like, go long. But yeah, definitely did not end up working out. But yeah, I totally understand the questions there to JF Trader and people in the chat. I wanted to wait and explain it here, but I did get out when we decisively broke that 94 area. Also, the little NVIDIA scalp, it went well. And I really like this. I was putting this out earlier, and then I appreciate Sharif for putting this one out as well. This solid rejection in an area that happened to be in confluence with VWAP actually too. I just realized that we had this consolidation for a good half an hour. Almost an hour leading into the open here at that 614. We come back into 614. I watched the rejection a couple times, and then I took it short. And I was planning on scalping exactly into this 612 area. Got it to about 612.50 because I was doing some scalpulation as well. And in the book, I was really seeing that 612.50-ish area hold. Speaking of candles, which I know I said was ironically my entry for Tesla, I think, or my Starbucks trade, sorry, I think I definitely messed up with the candle read here on Tesla, because in retrospect, this whole, we get to this 191 area, and then we do have some sellers overwhelming buyers on this top wick. That being said, this 190 hold is pretty nice. And I got in because I like that 190.50 hold as well. And I also thought it was interesting, with Tesla, is we have this earlier high, then we swoop down, coil back up, and then we fall from a low. We were holding really well for the time being at that 190.50. I'd definitely be taking some profits at that 191 because that is my MO. I've said this 1,000 times, but just because I am a bit scalpier, I do like taking profits where we see a previous resistance, because I don't know for sure what we can do with that area, right? And then sometimes we'll hold a piece for the dream, depending on how I'm feeling. In some of these mega caps, I find my dreams are a little bit more fleeting and can quickly become nightmares. So the piece I will hold will be a bit more scant. But yeah, so I mean, just trading levels, that was kind of what the vibe was. Also with Starbucks too, I want to clarify, the goal was not, also congrats if anyone's in the Starbucks short, I didn't want to hold this for forever either. I really was just looking at these areas where we had previous resistance. So that, or a consolidation, I guess. So that 94.60 was my first target. That area around 95 was my second. Just anywhere where we had consolidation, where we paused, and then we kind of continued to go here. Bob Curran saying he's also long Tesla. Fabulous here. Always best of luck to everybody. And yeah, I think Tesla holding 190 really well. I have a pretty small position, so I have enough for beak wetters this time because I didn't with NVIDIA. But we might add a Scotia shares. We might Salt Bay in some extra shares here. So yeah, we'll see here. Diamond Realty of Miami, dreams and nightmares. I mean, isn't that trading in a nutshell? Just totally. Trying to take the opportunities and have plans so that these nightmares don't turn into nightmares for too long. Absolutely. Or that you can navigate your way. You can lucid dream your way through the nightmares.
Lucid dream, I like that.
Analogy. How is Apple going?
It's decent. I just took another beak wetter there on that little pop, de-risking here because this flat top, let me show you exactly what I mean here. So we had a flat bottom at 185, and now we're getting a flat top for whatever reason at this support level 1 on pivots. Okay, so if you use pivots, you know exactly what my color scheme is. The pivot point itself is green. The first resistance level is that teal dot, and they're all dotted lines, so you can differentiate them between moving averages and the pivots by knowing whether or not it's dotted. And then here is support level 1 on AAPL, and we keep popping in, to support level 1, even initially. and we're having a lot of trouble breaking that. So for whatever reason today, Apple respecting the pivot support level and not really able to break through it. So on any pops, I'm de-risking here until there is confirmation for me that we've broken through this particular level, and this happens to be right at that 185.75. So you can say that 185 $0.75, a bit of a resistance, a local resistance level on Apple. If it comes down into my entry, I just took out another little piece there, so now we're only holding half the position. And if it comes back into my entry, I'll just take the other part break even here on AAPL. I'm having a look at Meta though, because Meta is looking awfully good here with respect to the Mag 7 names. Look at that V-shaped recovery. It wasn't exactly a VWAP hold, but it was close enough. It was more like the wick shimmy dance into 392, all of which were bought up, and now we're above 394, possibly headed into that high a day at 396.39. Meta sold off aggressively yesterday in the aftermarket owing to the earnings miss by Google, specifically with respect to digital ad sales. Google's total digital ad sales, including YouTube, came in below expectations, and obviously forecasting there, or analysts forecasting that Meta may suffer that same fate with respect to digital ad sales. And then you'll see yesterday the aftermarket move. You'll know exactly when 4 o'clock is, just basing on that huge volume candle over here right at 4. And then after that, look at that. We finished off the day yesterday at Meta right above $410. And at the low in the aftermarket yesterday, we got into 388. So we lost about 12 bucks there yesterday on Meta, just in the aftermarket. It did pop up again by 8 o'clock. It was up about 392, so gained about 4 bucks off the bottom there. So anyway, Meta awfully strong today. You know, I'm not really sure how I'm going to jump into this because I'm not going to chase the price action. Ideally, I would want something back into VWAP, but it may go without me here. 394.25 we just printed on META. It's still down 1.5% on the day, so it's nothing like, it's not rocketing up, obviously. The other one I've been looking at is TSLA. Elon Musk obviously in the news again with respect to his compensation package and how that was thrown out by a Delaware judge. Anyway, the market not really caring much about that because it popped off the bottom. So started off the day, we were around that 186 area, and at the top there we got to 191 1/3 above VWAP right now, and it did hold VWAP earlier in the morning. So I'm going to be looking to see whether that 189.25, 189.5 possibly could be a support level here on TSLA. Maybe we can weasel our way into that trade. And you saw the chips were super weak today. The Katina man was printing on that AMD short. He did the dance with it. But look at this bottom here on NVIDIA, 607 to the penny bottom. And now we've added $7 to that because we were at 614.25. So NVIDIA, a bit of a V-shaped recovery. It is, though, at an important resistance level. We did get into VWAP here with a couple of rejections earlier. So we're above it again. Can we clear VWAP here in this bottom end of the consolidation range at around 615? So look at this over here. All the 615 dips were eventually bought up, but you could kind of foreshadow the break because we were getting that lower high, lower high, lower high, and then we got that huge quadunk when everybody started yelling here on the floor when NVIDIA started going south. So several names to keep an eye on, not just this Apple trade that I'm in. I'm keeping a close eye on Meta. There goes Meta to the high side. Ooh. Okay, so 395 possibly coming in here on Meta. We were just yapping about this one at 394, and it's gained almost a buck since we started yapping. So maybe this one won't give us an opportunity for a pullback. It just may go without us. 395 incoming on Meta, Adair.
Yeah, I mean, Meta certainly a good look. I saw that one spike up on my side chart, and I was like, ooh. Let's look at, I want to look at Meta for myself here quickly. Yeah, this is a really nice VWAP bounce too as well, like swooping above VWAP or below VWAP, sorry, and then coming back up. NVIDIA, I do agree, like my levels of NVIDIA I think are really similar to yours, so yeah. Totally agree there. Tesla, I think you definitely had a better read on Tesla there. I probably got involved a skosh too early. That being said, so we have had, like, I said what I wanted was a decisive break below that 190 before leaving. So what we're doing, what I like, and I like watching stuff like this, is when we go below a level, how quickly can we recover? Right. How well can we recover above it? Tesla recovering back to this 190 pretty steadily, actually. So I did add a handful of shares, a skosh of shares.
Okay.
Above this 190 area. So now we're kind of falling a little bit here, but really I think my main thing is I'm just not trying not to be too hasty with my exits and trades. Either cough cough Citigroup yesterday, cough 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 cough. But yeah, so I'm just really watching. I'm just trying to make sure we hold up around that 190 area. We might have lost a bit of steam here, and like I said, in retrospect, that candle off that 191 with that those sellers overwhelming buyers does scare me a little bit, and I wish I had noticed it before getting into the trade. And it looks like we might be kind of falling off a little bit here. I am trying to be cognizant of this. Worst case scenario, I can switch short. But yeah, that's why I got in here on this Tesla where I did. Also, Lilly doing interesting things around key levels, much like NVIDIA here too. So I look at Lilly just having a little bit of a rounded top here at this 644, which also was around where we were pre-market. I want to see Lilly, will you fall from here? Will you rise? I think she may fall, but I would like to see what she does around that 643 first, because this is not what I want to jump into with both feet in either direction until I have some evidence of that. That being said, this fall, as Neil was talking about, this fall earlier is quite steep, and with that in mind, I'd also like to look at Novo Nordisk, because this one definitely not trading at a dieted price right now. All-time highs earlier today. That was a weak one for me.
That was a pretty good, actually.
Yeah,
come on, GLP-1s, baby.
Yeah, GLP-1s. Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly Novo Nordisk beat across the board here, I have to say. Not seeing a super clear chart read on this one for me. Like generally, like we had a slightly lower high here. If we're gonna count this as a low here, sorry, lower low. So I think I might take a look here. Diamond Realty of Miami saying just dip a toe. I would not in Novo Nordisk right now. However, I actually might in Lilly, because this does look like a little bit of a frowny top, right? We want to buy the roundy face and short the frowny face. So I may have to do that here. But meanwhile, I'm just babysitting Tesla, although I think Teslas might need to, go to bed without supper here. Jokes, because I think this rejection is, that is NVIDIA. What am I doing? This might be a trade to get out of, and I might refocus my energy on Lilly for the time being. Because I think I might just be taking a little bit of hopium here in Tesla. I think this one looks like it might be falling with the swiftness. So I may need to get out of this here. How are your trades going?
Sorry. Pratham Choksky, I hope I didn't butcher your name, has been yelling about SMCI for a while. And SMCI up 4% on the day. This monster yesterday was up 100% year to date. It did give up a bit yesterday, obviously, when the market started tanking. My man Pratham, though, I love his profile picture. My man's got a back double bicep over here. Man is killing it. Attaboy, Pratham. Shut up. He put it on. He's killing a back double bicep there, baby. But look, 4.5% is nothing to sneeze at. 545 there is a bit of a flat top. It's putting in lower highs right now, and it's coming down into that 525 area. Look, I mean, look how spready it is. It's 40 penny spread. It's a $500 name. You're going to have to be a little bit careful with this one. Personally, I'm not going to get involved, but it is bouncing off VWAP for now. Let me just show you a little bit here by zooming in. This VWAP dip. Yeah, so 531 is where VWAP is on my chart. You got an initial dip over here at around 1130 on it, popped back up into 536. If you want to get in this name, I mean, obviously kill it. To me, this is more of an investing stock rather than a day trading stock, just because it's so spready and you get cut up entering and exiting on this name. So I'm personally going to stay away from it, but good call by you on this name. Keep an eye, though, on the lower highs that are coming into effect. And keep your eye, though, on the hold of VWAP. To me, it's a short if we break through that 522 area. That's the low end of the trough over here, and that was previous resistance and then former support. Look at this area that we rejected off on that initial move up, eventually breaking it. We came back right into that area again. So flipping support resistance. If it gives up the ghost at 522, this is a short in my books. Boeing retracing a little bit off that 213.5, coming back into 211. So keep your eye on Boeing. It was up over 6 1/3. Now it's about 5 1/3. Apple continuing to move sideways a little bit. But I got to tell you, the truth about Apple is it's putting in lower highs here with a flat bottom, possibly at that 185.45, 185.50. Look how many times we've bounced off that level owing to this area of resistance over here, flipping to support now, but for how long, especially in the face of these lower highs. So this is the trough, this is the crest over here at 185.85, and then the lower crest there is at 185.75, and now looks like we may crest at 185.65 unless we really break and start making new highs. So keep your eye possibly here on these lower highs on Apple with the flat bottom at 185.45. So, and Adam was telling me as well, the Dow started tanking. Yeah, the Dow went red. It's 0.13 to the downside. What's really tanking is all the other ones. Russell is down 1%. The NASDAQ's down 1.5%. And the ES is down 0.96. So everything participating in the downside today, the Dow included it there. The yields also, absolutely getting shellacked. The 10-year is at 3.93. The 10-year is down 2 1/3. The 2-year is down 3%. And the 30-year is down 2.12. So everything participating in the move down, that is, of course, except if you're gold. Gold is up 0.75% on the day. Shout out to all my gold heads out there.
Yeah, no, I think that's certainly go gold. Go was literally in the words, so there we go on gold there. Yeah, still looking at Eli Lilly, still trying to see what we do at that 646. I did exit the Cybertruck here, basically where I said I saw that that kind of failure to get back to that 190. Go Apple as well. Is that what you said? Go
yeah,
Apple.
I did, but it's like topped out as usual.
Never mind. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, no, I think with Tesla, I really should have waited for 190. We do have a lower low here though now, so I'm not going to get involved in this until I see a little bit more clear levels. That being said, NVIDIA just doing his thing 21 or doing her thing 21 and climbing up above VWAP here. Not a bad look. I mentioned earlier, I don't think I'd be taking this above 619 or 618 this area, just for my purposes, just for scalping, because I think that was such a clear level of resistance in the pre-market, and then also a massive area at which we chopped and churned around for the first half hour of the day. So just something I would be cognizant of. I want to wait for a little bit of confirmation before getting long here in NVIDIA. However, I like these candles. I like that we had buyers overwhelming sellers a little bit here. So we have those attempts to move to the downside, and then the buyers are like, nah, not gonna happen. Also, thank you so much to Ollie for the $2 super chat. I'm not seeing a message here, but thank you so much for the support. Much appreciated. As always, for a second I thought someone said Confluence. I was like, oh, we're begging the.
No, you gotta appreciate when they do super chats.
Super chat, yeah, no, much appreciated. Yeah, NVIDIA just took a giant move to the upside here, so just keeping an eye on that. I wish I had a trade, but I don't want to force myself into anything here. I had a decent trade in NVIDIA, a little bit rougher moves here in Tesla and Starbucks, but I'm definitely watching Tesla for that 190. I will take it in whichever direction it proves it wants to go, but I don't want to force it. You know what I mean? I don't want to be too hard on Tesla. She has to figure out what she wants to be when she grows up. Hasn't done that yet, so not something I want to force. Meta though, I want to look at Meta. Slightly lower high here. We had what looks like a rounded top, and then we could not eclipse that 396.20 area. Also crazy we're talking about Meta 396 because Sharif did mention we had that giant dip yesterday. We were trading this at like 405 yesterday or 404. So markets do market things over here. Yeah. But yeah, I think if we can't get that 396 again, this could be a short. I want to wait for confirmation though before I dive in head first in this trade. But yeah, NVIDIA now almost at 616.50. So NVIDIA, really nice look. Eli Lilly failing that 646, still of interest to me as well. The boring man saying Queen Pandera, that is very sweet. You know, just making puns and trying to make hopefully making some money here or simulator money in my case. Just learning every day here on how to trade.
Meta just broke 395, but now it's a little bit below 395. It went to actually 395.5. It's retracing now below 395. So that move off that 392 bottom here on Meta, and it's coming into pivots. Okay, so it didn't hold up at pivots earlier. It actually rejected off that 396 and change. It went to 396 1/3, and here it is finding resistance at 395.5. Happens to be my pivot over here. This includes pre-market action. By the way, guys, pivots vary like VWAP. So if you include pre-market and aftermarket price action, your pivots will be different. If you exclude it, it's going to be there's going to be some variance there as well. So much like VWAP, it really depends on whether you include or exclude pre-market action. that's going to be dependent upon, whether your broker allows pre-market and after-market action as well. Mine does, and that's why I can kind of choose. Some of them I have pre-market action, some of them I don't, and after-market as well. Anyway, coming into 395, we're going to keep watching Meta here because it seems like it's the stronger of the names. And again, it sold off really in sympathy with Google. There was no specific catalyst for its earnings that is sold. When is Meta reporting, by the way?
And it's reporting after market close on Thursday with its buddies
Tomorrow?
Apple.
Nice.
With its friends Apple and also Amazon.
Amazing. Okay, so we're going to get all that kind of stuff tomorrow. So we'll know exactly how digital ad sales did with Meta. A bit of a different business model than Google's. I mean, we all know about the possible declining importance of search in the face of AI and how that may disrupt that business. Meta's a little bit different. Meta's obviously more social media, digital ad sales, so we'll see if that has a bit of a different effect. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking about this Apple trade here, and I'm thinking about just getting out of the entire position once it pops back up, because these lower highs and this flat bottom here at 185.40 is making me a little bit nervous on Apple. So I want to get the best price possible for the amount of shares that I've got, and focus on something that's a bit more trending at the moment. Apple very sideways. The other trade that I was in earlier, the best trade that I've had on the day is POWL. This bad boy, we took it for 2.25. It's coming back into that 122-ish area, but it did reject at this resistance area at 121.5. So I'll have to wait, see whether this one starts curling back up. But I gotta tell you, this, like SMCI, very spready. Right now, it's not bad. It's about 25 pennies, but I've seen it much wider in the range of 70 pennies or so. So keep your eye on this one if you are interested in trading small caps. Y Brothers, bring AMD to 175, please, he says. I can't do that. But yeah, it's, look, you know, you may find AMD back up there soon. We'll have to wait and see. It's up 2/3% since the open. It's down obviously 3%, but since the bell rang, it's up 2/3%. Nick says Netflix having itself a decent day when everything else in the Mag 7 world is red. Netflix is up 0.5%, so not a bad look here for NFLX. Let's look at the chart. It's at VWAP right now. I mean, it dipped into that 563, held 563, got up to 566. Kind of a sideways move here, but I see what you're saying. Definitely one of the stronger names out there for the big cappers, but I don't know. This is not my kind of trade. What else we got over here? Zach Frack. Can you also check CCL? Yeah, I haven't checked these cruise names in a while. Do you like go on social media a lot? Because I've been seeing a ton of stuff on this new Royal Caribbean boat. It's supposed to be called Queen of the Seas or something like that. It's the biggest boat ever built. This Icon of the Seas. Thank you. Yeah, whatever. Something of the seas. Right.
Yeah, I don't go on that.
It is a monster, Adara. It is insanely large, and it feels like it. Not really a boat. It's more like a building that's floating. That's how big it is.
I like that. Building that's what I'll have to look into that.
CCL's having a decent day. 3.5%. We're a bit of a double top here at 17.10, but it looks like it's making its way right back up. So good luck for CCL. Let's see it on the 5-minute chart, whether we can glean anything a little bit differently. Let's bring in, where is my side chart, by the way? There it is. Let's have a look at CCL here. Icon of the Seas. All right, here's a 5-minute look on CCL, and this excludes pre-market action. So maybe a dip into VWAP. I mean, the initial dip into VWAP all got bought up. Second dip didn't quite make it down, about 2 pennies above VWAP. Look, the notional range is not really there. We've got a low today of 16.35 and a high of 17.10. So it's a decent move. You're going to have to size in here to take the move. Nice move up, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe I'll put an alert for a high at daybreak. If we get above the high at day, then maybe we can participate in this name. What else we got here? Diamond Realty of Miami, Powell, low volume. Oh, it certainly is, and it's also quite spready. Jameson, Carvana. All right, let's have a look at Vana. Let's see what Vana's up to right now. Max was trading Carvana all the time.
I remember when I first came here, I remember Carvana was being shouted quite a lot.
Oh, yeah. Carvana's up 1.25% today. It's quite consolidative. at the moment. There he is. He's actually on vacation right now. He's in I think he's in Florida. Yeah, he's posting yesterday on his Instagram. Anyway, Carvana just barely above break even, guys. I mean, we closed out yesterday at 44.13. We're at 44.20 right now. We're now up 0.14. So I don't have a trade on Vana, quite frankly, unless it really can start trending to the high side here. It's below VWAP at the moment and just barely green on the day. What else we got in the chat? Dan Emmons, my wife's going on that thing. Okay, so Dan Emmons' wife's apparently going on the Icon of the Seas. Dan, want to know how that is, because a lot of people talking about it online, and they're saying it's kind of like, throwing everybody into a sardine can. There's so many people on it, but it's so big. So we'll have to see what the reviews are.
Oh my gosh, this looks
it's a monster.
Insane.
It's an absolute monster. You want to show it? Bring it down.
I do want to show it. Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell just looking at it, but when you see the people relative to the size of the boat when they're standing next to you, you can get an idea. Look at that whole glass enclosure on the front there. That's a hell of a view.
Holy cannoli. A boat should not have skyscrapers. This boat has its own little skyscrapers. Look at this. I love this. I am obsessed with this boat. Thank you for telling me about this. I learned this today, and this is our new icon, this icon of the sea here. Best of luck to it, and I hope anyone who's on this does enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I'm in the Sea Lily trade, and I don't know if I'm enjoying this so far. I got involved in this because, like I said, I like all this consolidation and these continued struggles to get above that 646. And then I was like, Adara, what if you're getting involved in this and it's setting up for a flat top break? That's the one thing that bothers me. We're basically flat in the day, and we're definitely in an area that we struggled with earlier, so that could go in either direction. I am getting out if we have any kind of decisive break at that 646. I will say Audi, not a huge position size, generally not for me. You know what I mean? Like I like to keep it kind of small, and we add if we feel like adding. But yeah, in terms of profit takers here, that 640, just below 643 area where we first started to see this consolidation kind of occur, getting out some there, and then I'll be watching around that 640 because that was where we had tons of consolidation earlier.
Apple's going. Here we go. Let's break through that top, man. I mean, I don't want to I got excited, sorry. I was waiting for that fill there on Apple through the break of 85. Adara, I spoke too soon, I guess, so we'll have to wait and see. We got a couple of beak wetters, but nothing that great.
Oh, so indecisive today.
Oh, so it's the dead one. Here we go. Are we gonna get the fill? We're awfully close. I'm seeing 85s show up here on the bid, but not on the ask. So we'll have to wait until it crosses. Otherwise, Apple putting in higher lows though. Let's be real about it, even though it's awfully weak on the day. And that's just the truth of the matter. But it is kind of tilting a bit to the high side. And as I say that, it comes back into the 70s. We'll have to wait and see whether we can get anything on Apple. I'd rather focus on something else there because Meta just popped into 395 3/4. So strong on Meta there. I want to ask your opinion. What do you think about this Microsoft look over here? Ooh. Look at this 402 flat bottom on Softy. Look at all the dips that were into that level that all got bought up. Like I'm thinking maybe flat bottom break, but then you think double bottom possibly, especially if you can break 40550.
I'm having the same dilemmas.
The Katina Man is having this exact on Softy?
Yeah, like I don't know if I should be long or what I should be.
Yeah, the Katina Man is thinking exactly what I'm thinking. I don't know if I should be long, I should be short Softy at the moment. What do you think of that? Ram, show this chart if you're able to.
Yeah, so what I'm going to say is I did notice the flat bottom. I'll say that first and foremost. That was something I noticed on my side chart.
Right.
But like you, I don't think I have a clear enough read to be confident enough to dip my toe in either direction. The lower highs, though, I think are pretty telling. And I think that would be, I would not get in a long here, but I also don't think I get in a short. So I wish I could answer your question. My only answer is a shrug. I'm the shrug emoji right now. I think Microsoft needs to tell us what it wants to do, much like Apple, although I would say this is a clearer message than Apple. Although the low, again, like other than the higher lows on Apple, or like, you know what I mean? Like I would say Microsoft is a little, perhaps fizzling out, but a lot of these Mag 7 names seem to be confused about what direction they'd like to move in. Yeah, I think though Microsoft will be interesting. I just need it to decide what direction I'd like to be interesting in.
I agree. Yeah, so I'll just stay put. I'm not going to get involved on this bad boy until and if it does break through. I'm looking for a possible breakthrough 405 1/3. So if Microsoft can trends higher, 405 1/3, that'll be a double bottom and the breaking of a neckline. To me, that will be quite bullish, and I'll be interested in getting long. It's down 1.4% right now, so bit of a tougher day. A lot for all these Mag 7 names there.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking, you know what I have been looking at actually? Tesla. And why I've been looking at Tesla is I don't want to diagnose patterns when they haven't come to fruition yet. This could be a little head and shoulders for me. We did kind of trough out at the same area from earlier. We're coming back into the 190.50 where I possibly erroneously decided to go long. And we're slightly above VWAP. We are still down in the day though for the same, but we're up in terms of like the movement that we've seen intraday. So just things that I'd be keeping an eye on there. Like I said, I'm interested in getting involved in Tesla in either direction, and I really want to see what we do in this 190, 190.50 range. But right now, much like a lot of these Mag 7s, they're kind of all the dead one today. They're all sharing. It's like a group project. You know what I mean? Who will be the dead one? Maybe all of them. But yeah, NVIDIA also still kind of interesting. We paused a little bit about that 615, but holding it pretty well. If there's a more concise dip opportunity than just topping and turning, I'll get involved. Boeing is buoying.
Adira, I looked at this. I'm like, okay. So I started saying to myself, Sharif, you like to wait for pullbacks on strong names before you get in. You don't like chasing the price action. And I was looking at it right here. Once it started coming right back down, but I said, no, Sharif, it's making lower highs. You don't want to get involved when it's making lower highs. God, I'm a moron. Because look at this. I mean, comes right back into that level, that 212 level that it had trouble with initially, and then right back up in 213.5 again. Boeing right back up to 6.5% when it just dipped into 5. So it gave you ample opportunity to get through, or to get, pardon me, into that trade, and you could have had $1.50 based upon this entry right here. So Boeing continuing to go, guys. Almost 6.5% of the good. We're almost at day's high. Day's high is a smidge above that 213.5. We're at 213.3 right now. So the strength is remaining on Boeing, and that dip absolutely got bought up. And look at Meta go, 396 incoming. We have a 396.1/3 high from the morning. So Meta continuing to pump to the high side now, doing the dance at the whole dollar. And then above that, we have about 33 cents before we print a new high a day. Meta now just down 1% on the day of that big sell-off in the aftermarket yesterday on the Google miss. Meta continuing to V-shape right back up, Adira.
Whew. Yeah, I just noticed too, Meta hanging out back at that 396, a very interesting look. Also Boeing, James Dell was saying what I was thinking, which is that Boeing is kind of getting close to a bit of a double top resistance there.
Yeah.
But I mean, given how strong it is, it's not something I would step in front of. I would not step in front of this moving plane. But that being said, or I guess like you can't because it's in the sky. But maybe, you know, I wouldn't want that door to fall on me, I'll put it that way. The whole idea of getting involved in a falling knife, I think this could be a flying plane. The analogies are not working, but I will say, if we see a dip, you know what I'd be interested in though for Boeing? What we do below that at 211.50, if we break this decisively to the downside, that would be what I would go short. I am saying it here and now. If I remember to look at it later. That's the other thing, dude. There's so many, you talk about so many names and you see so many names that unfortunately I feel like you're always going to maybe sometimes miss opportunities.
Oh, no question.
You know what, like I know you're always like kicking off the small caps off your side chart. Like sometimes there just aren't enough charts for all of the amazing trading opportunities that we get here on a daily basis. But I would like to talk about Mademoiselle Lily, as I call her. Ahead of her earnings next week, she's doing her little frowny face. And I am not frowny face right now. I am pleased as punch with what's happening here. Like I said, decisive 646 break, I am outie. But why I got in was this little rounded top here, and the fact that this is where we started seeing resistance. And we flew up with a viciousness with Lily too, with a swiftness. We flew. I was trying to get involved in that move up, and she just kept moving too fast for my slow little fingers. But yeah,
you can't complain about that. You're not old man hands. Old man hands is over here.
Well, I have the old man grandpa waving finger.
Okay,
do that.
I got you.
But you're right, I guess a little bit different there. But still too slow for the monster that was Eli Lilly bouncing off that 637-ish area, I have to say. But yeah, basically I like that we're kind of rejecting off of that area where we were around pre-market. I think this could be a key look, and I wanted to get involved when I saw it rather than trying to chase it on the way down, because you could not chase Eli Lilly. She is not chaseable. She plays hard to get. So put it that way. But yeah, just something I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Bless you. And also, someone was mentioning in the chat this stock here. Where was it here?
My God, Meta.
It didn't have very much volume though. What's going on with Meta? Oh my gosh. Meta is fine.
Yeah. Meta's new high day. But Neil is ready though.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. But for now, we will be heading over to the real deal, as always, with our pal Neil.
Trading economic data, trading big news events, you know there's going to be opportunities, kind of like the Federal Reserve not changing rates today. If you're not getting prepared for those types of events, then very, very bad, Jerry. You've got to get the Babu finger wag or the Matumbo finger wag. If you're not preparing for these, if you plan on trading when the Fed is coming with an interest rate decision or an oil number comes out or when CPI hits or GDP in the morning, then you're just essentially wasting your time. You've got to have a plan of action, whether you think it's going to move or not. What is your plan and how can you prep? The market's going to do what it's going to do. It's your job to be prepared for what might happen. And it all starts with identifying whether or not there's going to be something to work with. So, you got to get yourself an economic calendar. I'm just going to drop down my Benzinga Pro because they have a fine economic calendar of their own where you can scan every single day to see what is coming through. And obviously the big one that stands out sometimes on a day like today is going to be the Fed, but you can get it all across from US, Europe, whatever you happen to be trading. You get the time, actual, consensus, so you know what it did sometimes last time, what it's going to do the next time, and then from there, identify whether it matters to you or it's something you want to trade. Now, here's the thing. It's all well and good to know, okay, fine, the Fed's going to come at 2 o'clock, or we're going to have inventories, oil inventories at 10:30, or you're going to get CPI at 8:30. But from there, you've got to decide if there is a trade, where am I going to express that trade? Now, if you're trading an interest rate decision, you've got some options. You want to go to treasuries, trade some TLT, you can do that. You want to go over and trade some gold, you can do that as well. Sometimes that might be the mover. You want to go over and trade some big cap tech? Okay, have a couple of names in mind that you think might go on said move. You can trade UVXY if you want to. There's lots of different things that you can trade. On an oil number, you're probably just looking at oil futures. And that gas number, you're looking at that, maybe in equity. But you've got to pick your poison and, if possible, have it be something that you're comfortable with the way that it moves, right? So if you're comfortable with the way equities move, then pick an equity that you think is going to react. Around the Fed, I like some big cap tech and growth names off of key levels. There are traders on our trading floor here that love to trade GDX. You've got to know and be comfortable with what is going to move and how it is going to move for you. So know where you want to express that trade, know what time it's going to happen and all that good. The other thing that you have to consider is what matters. When a CPI number comes out, maybe there's a specific subset within inflation data which has mattered more than last. Maybe you're looking at housing a little bit more. Maybe you're looking at the core instead of the primary. Think about all that in advance so that when you're reacting, you're not just saying, oh, the headline moved a little bit, but wait a minute, I care more about how the core did or how about housing did. Let's make sure that's in, or also I'm not trading it. Those are the little nuances that are okay, because to not take a trade sometimes is the best thing to do if it's not setting up for you. So now that all that's out of the way, you've got to be able to set yourself a plan. I think a lot of times what ends up going awry for some people is they don't end up having a defined plan of action when it comes to those events. So I'll give you an example with the Fed here, right? 2 o'clock, you get a rate decision. At 2:30, Powell hits the podium. So you have a couple of things that can happen. You can either have what will happen. It's going to go to a 3-minute here. You can have what will happen today as we're doing this, which is no change. You can have almost 100% certainty that there will not be an interest rate change. In that particular case, it's what does the Fed say in their comments and in the Q&A that's going to move the markets. So at that point, the 2 o'clock move, I'm expecting an inside type of move, and I might look for simple support and resistance type setups. If that were the case, I might look at a Qs off the bottom. Anticipate on a drop, I just want to scalp the bottom, short the top kind of a move. That's one way to look at it. Then, if I think that the big move or the real event is when Powell's answering questions, then at 10:30, I'll look for a trend trade. If I see us making higher lows after he makes maybe he makes a comment that indicates that they might be loosening up to the idea of cuts, or the dot plot indicates more aggressive cutting, those kinds of things can give us reasons to go stair step up, and I might be looking for higher lows and trend and then holding on for the remainder of the afternoon. Those are the types of things you want to know in advance. What time am I looking for what? What do I want to hear? What style of trade am I going to go into? Definitely scalp trading if I'm not expecting them to make a move. And I know a lot of people don't remember when you used to have a little bit of uncertainty around whether or not they're raising or cutting, but when that is true, you absolutely 100% want to be ready for the move at 2 o'clock. Now that was a while ago, it's been some time since we've actually had uncertainty, but when there is uncertainty, that initial move can be gold. The example would be CPI the last couple of years. Not so much anymore, but when inflation was really running rampant, the initial move on CPI was everything. You just want to take a breakout trade there because it was moving the markets in that fashion. But in that case, you know where you want to express that trade. Do you want to go into the Qs? Do you want to go into TLT? Do you want to go into your equity? You know that you're trading the actual number because it's what's moving the markets. That's the same thing if we had uncertainty with the Fed. If I don't know with 100% certainty or 99.9% that there will be no change, then I would be trading that 2 o'clock number for some kind of a breakout and rally. But that's not the case today. So I'm thinking range-bound trade. Know it in advance, so when it happens, you're ready to just hit your keys and be locked and loaded and ready to go. Now, one of the things that you will find that I like is a bit of a post-move trade is these events will give you opportunities to unlock key price levels. So this is going to take a little presumption because the Fed hasn't happened today. But when you get a big move in reaction to a big event, a lot of what occurs in that first melee is simply the market makers, the algos, refusing to make a market. They pull their quotes. That's why things get really thin when you're watching your level 2. And then you get a big move because less money can move the market more when there's less liquidity. So that first float up or down, wherever it might be, that's that liquidity gap. Where they make a market again, let's just say maybe Powell says something nice. We make some tops at 425 and they're making markets and it consolidates there. I always mark those types of levels off. Like if this is what it looks like on the Qs in the afternoon today, where it holds a level like this 425, I'd be like, this is my Fed top or Fed bottom, whatever it happens to be. And then for the rest of the next week, I'm using that as a significant price level. In liquidity vacuums and news events, you will have levels created that are very important for you to use. Maybe you don't execute off the Qs. Maybe you use it for resistance and then you short something else. Or breakout through that level gives you a trade. Liquidity events are huge, huge pieces of information for any trader. Don't just make the trade on the news event and then forget about it. Be sure that you start charting the significant price levels where the market makers are coming back, where the buyers are there, where the sellers are there, where the equilibrium points are, because that's all very, very useful information to you. And if you're not trading around and you're just sitting it out and then just watching because you've never traded that news event, then all the more reason why you should be jotting those things down for your preparation. So know when it's going to happen, know what's important to you, know where you're going to express the trade, have a plan of action for the style of trade that you want to do, and then make sure you jot down those key levels that are established when you have a big economic event or economic number, kind of like we're about to see the Fed today, this afternoon. Let's see what happens when Powell hits that podium. Always a market mover. That's the real deal. Trade those economic numbers and at least learn from them if you're a beginning trader and you're not ready to take that leap.
Neil, insightful and informative as always. Thank you very much for that. The real deal with Neil. All right, as we were on break there, Apple did break through that kind of consolidation top, and we were able to wet our beak there on some profits. But we're waiting for up. There we go. We got another print there on AAPL. As the market popped up and Apple is into a key resistance level now. You know how I feel about these $1 or, you know, the whole dollar levels. We're going to have to wait and see whether we can get a break through 186. I don't have any more beak wetters put out there right now, so we'll have to set that up once I send it back to Adara. But we're also into Boeing. We got a couple of beak wetters through the break over here, but it is coming right back down, and I do get stopped out for the remaining balance there. Did I lose money on that? No, break even. Fine. Great. Bit of a useless trade there. Just blew through effort for no reason. But anyway, Boeing coming back off that high at daybreak. Now, the reason I was excited in this, because it was making higher lows, higher highs, looking to test that high of day. It does break the high of day, and then look how quickly it's coming back off that high of day break, right back down into the 212.5 we go off that 213.75 pop. So a lot of volatility in Boeing, obviously an earnings play today. So we'll keep an eye on Apple. We'll keep an eye on some of these other names. By the way, somebody did ask me about CCL earlier, and I told them that I would put up an alert if we got into higher days. And lo and behold, Adara, we are at higher days because I just did get that notification. So we did come up to that 1710 again. But we are encountering resistance right at that area that we did encounter resistance at around 1045. So we haven't broken this kind of triple top looking area yet. For whatever reason, shorts or sellers are taking profits at that 710, 709 level on CCL. It's up 3.5%. I don't know if it has its own catalyst. But yeah, I thought I'd mention that for whoever was interested in it. So keeping an eye on CCL, keeping an eye on Apple as well. Let's now restart the lesson, on the day. Guys, today we are talking about exhaustion gaps. It is the week of gaps. And we talked extensively on Monday about initiation gaps to start a new trend. Yesterday we talked about continuation gaps to continue the trend. Today we're talking about exhaustion gaps basically to end the trend. So what are these exhaustion gaps? They are vital patterns in technical analysis that traders use to identify potential reversals in the market trends. The gaps occur when there is significant price movement and signaling a trend may be reaching its limits. And obviously that's indicating the potential exhaustion among market participants and a return down of the price or up in the price if it was a downtrend, okay? So this works both ways. I just wanted to make that very clear before I continue. Gaps work in both directions, both to the high side and the low side, and the rules are the same. So some of the characteristics of the exhaustion gaps are there's a volume surge. So one thing that I've talked extensively about this week with gaps is the importance of volume. So on Monday, we said volume had to be above average for the initiation gap. Yesterday, when we talked about continuation gaps, we said the volume for a continuation gap has to be lower than that of an exhaustion gap. And now today, we're going to talk about increasing volume again. So exhaustion gaps are often accompanied by a noticeable increase in trading volume, reflecting the heightened activity as market participants rush to take advantage of the last leg of the trend, okay? The other characteristic of it is that there are large price movements. Exhaustion gaps are often characterized by a substantial price movement in the direction of the prevailing trend. And so what you have comparators here. So you have two gaps prior to the exhaustion gap. So when you say, Sharif, well, how do I know how to compare volume? Well, you have the volume on the exhaustion gap, you're comparing that to the continuation gap. How do I know there's a large price movement? Well, again, you have the exhaustion gap price movement, compare that to the continuation gap. It should be typically higher, okay? And last but not least, catalyst for reversal. Typically, what causes the reversal and causes this gap to be an exhaustion gap, not just a common gap or a continuation gap, is a catalyst comes in there, whether earnings or bad news or good news in the case of a downtrend, that happens to kind of cause this one to end the trend and to start curling back down. So they're typically followed by a shift in market sentiment, often triggered by fundamental factors or news that prompts traders to reassess their positions. And so what we're looking for here is the filling of the gap. That's how we know this is the exhaustion gap. So we get the big gap with a bigger than average price movement, larger than average volume, and then the last thing we're looking for is the filling of the gap and the making of lower highs and lower lows to head back down. Any questions or comments there?
Yeah, I guess this is just something I kind of thought of, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to articulate it very well, but I was just thinking while you were speaking too about the negative catalyst that we need, or whatever fundamental reason we do have for filling that gap. I guess what happens if we have the initiation gap and the continuation gap, but we don't have and then another, I guess, a common gap, if not an exhaustion gap, but we don't have the negative catalyst needed to push that move lower. So yeah. So
what you're saying is we get two of the three, and then we don't get a gap on the last leg, but it curls back down.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's just it's you don't get it. right? In that particular case, you just don't get it. I'd like to see an example.
Sorry, it was just a random.
Yeah, no,
top,
because
yeah.
I think that makes eminent sense. Because what if you don't get the exhaustion gap? I don't have an answer for that. I think that, once the continuation gap is filled, then basically you're kind of in no man's land at that point because, well, it almost looks like a filled gap because that continuation gap should not be filled, right? You should be trending to the high side there on the exhaustion gap. All right, so the next piece of the pie here is how to ID these exhaustion gaps. So traders employ various tools and techniques to identify exhaustion gaps with their technical analysis. So the first one is a volume analysis. Pay close attention to trading volume during this gap. An exhaustion gap is often accompanied by a surge in volume, indicating the final push of buying or selling interest. The other one is price extremes. Exhaustion gaps often occur after a prolonged trend. Reaching extreme pricing levels, recognize these extremes is crucial to identifying potential reversal points. So you're going to ask me, well, how do I know the price of that extreme? Well, look for key indicators. Look for potentially 52-week highs, all-time highs. Look maybe for RSI price action divergence. Look for MACD price divergence. So that's what you're looking for there. And then you're looking also for confirmation indicators. And that's basically what I said there, using technical tools such as oscillators and reversal patterns to kind of figure out whether we are ending our move up or down. So what are you looking for? You're looking for a reversal pattern like the head and shoulders or the double top or the triple top, something to signify, yep, this is likely the end of the trend. So multiple ways to do that. You can use oscillators, you can use price charts, or chart patterns to be able to kind of gauge whether or not we are ending the trend. And then last but not least, some of the trading strategies that you can employ on these exhaustion gaps. Traders can implement specific trading strategies to capitalize on the anticipated trend reversal, but you need to understand that if you're going to trade exhaustion gaps, you are by definition taking a counter trend trade. So you have to position oneself in the opposite direction of the prevailing trend, expecting a reversal after the exhaustion gap. And very important here is risk management. Because you are taking a counter trend trade, you have to make sure that your stop losses are sound. So a lot of people want to base their stops on average true range. In my opinion, when you're trading exhaustion gaps, they should be at the high end of the range. So if you're waiting for the filling of the gap, like on this chart over here, for the break of this high to get in, so you get short right over here, your stop needs to be at the high end over here. Because if we continue to head to the high side, then it's a failed pattern. The trade is no longer valid, right? So that is what I'm looking for there. You have to be very careful because you are counter trend trading, and make sure to employ sound risk management strategies when you are trading these, because by definition they are counter trend.
Yeah, I have I guess a question too off something Smita Patel is saying in the chat. Is this chart one day or is it a daily chart? Is it intraday or daily? So gaps are usually a daily chart, right? Okay.
Yeah, and this is more of like a daily thing. I'm not saying they're not fractal. You won't be able to see them on a price chart, but think about this. I mean, how aggressive does the price action have to be for a 5-minute candle to gap above the previous 5-minute candle? It's almost non-existent, right? And I told you guys this on Monday. So on my daily chart, I actually have 3 charts for my trading screen. One is the daily or weekly, the other one is the 5 or 15, and then the other one is the 1 and the 3. On my daily/weekly, I've removed aftermarket, pre-market price action because I want to be able to see when there's a gap on the daily, when there's a gap on the weekly. And if I include pre-market and aftermarket price action, it's going to fill in those gaps. And I don't want to see the filled in gaps. I want to be able to see when actually something is gapping up. So what I'm saying, obviously, like everything else in technical analysis, it's fractal, but most of the time it's going to appear on the daily.
Yeah, so then also I guess what I would say, so you can use intraday though, I guess too, with these gaps, right? Like if you can trade, oh, sorry, is something happening?
Yeah, no, I'm just complaining about Boeing to myself. Go ahead, yeah.
Well, I guess, yeah, what I think is interesting too is you could, if you look at levels, like what you were saying, like keeping in mind like, tops and bottom of the range, with for risk management purposes, I would think, and I'm just going to bring down the chart so I can look at this for myself and have something to reference here. Zoom, 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 zoom. But yeah, so basically, I guess what you could do is if you see something like this in the intraday, knowing that we've had this exhaustion gap and these earlier gaps, I guess you could trade this intraday and just use the gaps kind of as part of your, if you're looking at daily charts for levels, which is I think something that's often pretty helpful and something I'm trying to incorporate into my trading more, that's where this could help for day trading, I would say maybe, right? Like looking into past levels and being like, this would be a good place for a stop loss, or I can get involved here because we filled that gap. So I think using the daily chart to help possibly potentially inform some of the intraday movement. That would be my take on that. But thank you so much for the question, Smita Patel. We love questions up in here.
Jay Lee makes eminent sense. Basically telling me, don't look, confirmation bias is a real thing. We've talked about that on candlestick patterns. We talked about that for price chart, chart patterns. And the same thing is applicable to gaps. Just because you're seeing a gap doesn't mean it's an exhaustion gap. We're going to talk about common gaps tomorrow, Jay Lee, and we're going to be showing you exactly how to kind of tone down the bamboozlement a little bit, right? So tomorrow, common gaps, and that's going to help put gaps into perspective, because not everything that we see, not every gap that we see, is an initiation gap or a continuation gap or an exhaustion gap. Oftentimes, and I don't know what the exact numbers are, there's going to be common gaps, and they're going to be reflective of nothing more than, just not more than, local strength, basically local strength in the price action, okay? Maybe not a sustained uptrend of sorts. Anyway, Apple back into 186, so we're nicely in the money on this one, about 75 pennies in the money, looking for that whole dollar break. We did get a whole dollar break there, but just not on a closing basis. We're doing a dance right now with the whole dollar level at 186 on Apple, now down 1% on the day. It's been a nice recovery off that 185 bottom, and we waited a little bit till this one started curling back up before we got involved. There goes Apple through 186 now. If we can maybe do some charting and figure out what the next resistance level is if we are to actually close above this 186. Now, the problem with this whole look here on Apple is that we have such an incremental stair step down. But I'm going to say the IB low, not the IB low, but the dark pool wicks low at 8 a.m. was 186.5. So I'll probably be looking to de-risk the majority of the position in front of that 186.5. And we also had right before the bell, we bottomed out at that 186 1/3. So if we are able to take that 186 level on a closing basis, I will be looking at 186.5 as the area from basically to de-risk the majority of the position. What? Bill Belichick?
Huh?
Yeah. Jerry Jones coming out and saying, no doubt I could work with the legendary coach Bill Belichick. Katina Man's laughing.
How is this news? Isn't it just Bill Belichick is a good coach? People want to work with him? Like, am I missing a thing here?
But the thing is, with Jerry Jones, people say he's just such a control freak that, he takes basically decisions away from the coaching staff, or some coaches don't want to work with him because he's such an interventionist owner. So that's what word around the 50-yard line is to take a.
I like that. I like that.
All right, Adara, we're putting in higher lows, higher highs on Apple here. If we can continue up to the high side, I will be pleased. This punch.
The beak wetters are having such a good time just hanging out and bobbing their heads in the water, downloading some apps as
there you go.
Really nice look there. We'll have to find out if Apple is rotten to the core in their earnings tomorrow. But yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. I wish I had a more interesting trade to report here, but we have been packing the patience in the Samsonite here on Eli Lilly. There I have no reason to get out. We haven't broken above that 646. This has definitely been a test of my inner strength and my fortitude here. I do like this move. I like this rounded little Apple pumping it.
Oh no! I
I forgot that you. Yeah,
I just yell randomly.
Yeah, so I was like, let's see if it's moving. But yeah, so I think this Eli Lilly, I like that we have this area again, like I said, where we were kind of bouncing off from pre-market. I think that's an interesting look indeed. Also closing was that 644.98. So that's kind of interesting. I got it about 13 paper pennies shy of closing. So I think that's kind of an interesting level to keep an eye on as well. There is sometimes confluence with where we close of the day, which I know is something that you've talked to me about a lot as well. And I think that makes sense too why you like the pivot points. Because the pivot points are partially based on the closing prints. Right?
Absolutely.
So I think, yeah, I was just thinking about
you remember what they're based on?
High, low, close, right? Previous day, high, low, close.
Killing it.
Thank you. But yeah, so I think with that in mind, I like that we do have this 644.98 closing on Lilly. I think that could also be a little bit confluencing with where we have this consolidation. I want to get this. I should have maybe waited for the back end on this. Shout out to Neil on that. But I do think that this rounded-ish top could be a nice short here for Lilly, and we haven't proven it wrong yet. Like I said, the trade is valid. Shout out to Sharif until we make this break above 646. I know some people mentioning Minim. I know you are more the small cap person, but
have a look.
I'll take a look at Minim. Certainly not a minimal move today here on this one. We had a nice push here from that off that $3 area, consolidated for a little bit, la-di-da-di-da, 930, swoop to the upside. I put this one initially on the watch list because I did like this giant pop here. We did have a move up. We also have a catalyst involving a man by the name of David E. Lazar. So apparently he has a 51% ownership stake in Minim, and he is now also the director of their board.
Oh.
Go David, I guess. He made the stock run up quite a bit here. What I find interesting too is look at the bottom of this range. It's where where we kind of top and turned earlier, right? So I think that's an interesting look. Holding really well.
What do you see in the overall pattern though, if I could?
Lower highs.
And?
Lower lows too. Like now we have kind of a flattish bottom, but generally lower lows. Yeah. So that could be a flat bottom, break.
Oh, or descending wedge, whatever.
Whatever you'd like to call it. Descending wedge for sure that you're right, because we do have that lower high, all right, lower high. Looks like a lower high.
What was the look on this one in the pre-Adara? Did we get that pre-market high break?
We had it a while ago.
We did, okay.
Yeah, we had it basically right off the open.
Yeah, you're right. My bad. Yeah, this one was the one that was in focus. Yeah, good call on that. What's up, Katina, man? Oh, my bad.
Yeah. Also, an interesting take from Frank Jones in the chat here. Shout out as always to forgotten rapper of the early 2000s, Mike Jones.
Mike Jones.
But yeah, first thing I do before I enter a stock I haven't traded in a while is to look for a gap down on the daily. It's sort of a stock law of physics. Sooner or later, the gap gets covered or the stock goes OOB.
OOB?
Out of bounds? I don't know.
I have no idea. Whose thing are you reading? So
Frank
I can read
Jones
it?
is.
Frank Jones. Where's I'm low
It's
there.
because I thought it was
First
interesting
thing
about
I do
gaps.
before I enter a stock, because I haven't traded in a while, to look for a gap down on the daily. It's sort of a stock law of physics. Sooner or later, the gap gets covered, or the stock goes, I don't know.
Out of business.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
But I don't like to subscribe to the adage that all gaps get filled.
That's true.
How do you know? Have you done like the data? I mean, like, no, I don't mean to be a jerk about it, but is that like a statistically supported statement? Because, I mean, do all gaps literally get filled? I mean, are there no gaps that don't get filled? I mean, I have no idea, right? But I just don't want to make that assumption unless I have the data to back it up. That's
I understand. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting too because we're talking about gaps and getting different people's perspective on gap plays for sure. I thought that was interesting. But I do see what you mean. Like it's hard you don't want to prescribe, a gap fill ahead of time, right? Because every stock will move a little bit differently.
ChatGPT, what they think. Okay.
Mr. Lib saying you need volume in hand with gaps. Yeah, we were saying also too, what's interesting is you can identify an initiation gap continuation gap by less volume because it shows, hey, we already had the big gap. This one's just trucking along in the same direction. So I think that's certainly something that I really appreciate here, Mr. Lib. I really like this this look here. Tony Price saying most gaps get filled. Yeah, that's fair here. Eli Lilly still kind of hanging out. I wish I had more to report in this stock, but I do not. But I do have the IWM up. I was looking at this one earlier because during the small cap recap. And I've been trading the IWM lately. I don't know, I just find it kind of an interesting one. And I do like these lower highs and a lower low. I was noting earlier on the small cap recap, we had that bottom just above that 196.30. We've decisively made a lower bottom since then. That would be that 195.8. And I like every time we go above VWAP, IWM says, nah, and we reject back down. If I want to see what we do below VWAP, I want to see decisive break of VWAP around that 196.70, then I would probably be going short here and definitely taking out at least some of the profit at this 196.30, because that was definitely an area that was a sticking point for IWM earlier, and I'd be getting out if we break above that 197, because that has been a heck of a ceiling for IWM, but I do not want to be hasty in this trade. This is one you really need to be careful to keep an eye on and see. But yeah, I think right now main trade is just going to be Eli Lilly.
I like it. All right, well, Apple has been above, Adara. It's been above that 186 area, and it's been doing the dance here with the 186 low teens. It's at 10s right now. I've gotten my next beak wetter on this bad boy at 21s. Just a bit of a random level there. But the majority of the position, I want to reiterate that I am looking at de-risking the majority of the position. If we were to make it up to that 186.50, I'm going to be getting out of the majority of the position. The reason is that is the institutional level low at 8 a.m. And again, we did have a bit of a consolidation area there for about 15 minutes prior to the bell ringing at 9:30. So I am looking at that 186.5 as a possible key level of resistance on Apple. That is all predicated upon the fact of us running and continuing to run to the high side. Now, resistance acting as now support. So here's a look on Meta. Meta was the monster off that 392 low to 398 to the dot. 398 high of day to the dot, and here it comes right back down into 395. Is it going to hold up at these pivots? I mean, initially we did have a bit of a resistance level on pivots, but nothing really to write home about. So do we find some support here? It doesn't look like we are right now. We're at 395. So we'll have to wait and see what we do at that whole dollar level. If 395 gives up the ghost and we continue to trend down, well, VWAP on my chart here is 393 and a third. Maybe it's at 393 and a half by the time the price makes it down. We'll have to wait and see. But Meta, I don't want to say this is double top because they're a bit off each other. They're about a third of almost 0.5% off each other, these tops. Okay, about 0.42%. We'll have to wait and see whether Meta can hold up, number one, at 395, because right now it is hitting the brakes on that descent at 395. So we'll wait there and see. Meta is one of the stronger names, though. There goes Apple into 186.17. I am waiting at 21s. We're about 10 pennies from being $1 in the money on this bad boy. So it is a nice move up there. Hit the dollar club, Katina, man. How's that, what's it called? AMD. Are you still in AMD?
I didn't reload it. I'm debating at 168.
The Katina man is debating reloading AMD at 168. We'll let you know whether or not that happens. He took that bad boy short. It's down 2.5% on the day. He's still long softy, by the way. He's still long Microsoft. The Katina man is long Microsoft. And for whoever was asking in the chat about the Katina man's positions, again, we've been mentioning this lately. Soon you will be able to see Neil and Sean's positions all day. We will have more information about that, but that is going to happen soon. I know I've been saying that for a while, but literally it is going to be soon. So, I mean, it's not in my hands, right? Jay Lee, Affirm about to give another $1 short, question mark, 43.25. Let's have a look at Affirm. Let's pull up the side charts over here, go to daily movers, and we're going to go AFRM, see what this bad boy is up to today. So first of all, what is Affirm up on the day or down on the day? Let's just load down. Okay, so we're up 0.7% on Affirm. Where is the closing print here on Affirm? Okay, so here we go. Let's put in that line. So we closed out at 42.72 yesterday on Affirm. Jay, it's so zigzaggy. I mean, I got to tell you the truth. This is one of those charts I hate to trade because there is no direction. You know I'm a trend trader, but look, it's not even respecting yesterday's closing print. And I think what Jay's looking at maybe here is getting the short off the highs. Because look, we topped out at 43.47. It's been essentially topping out at 43 and a third, 43 and a half. So I think what Jay's looking at, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he's looking at another rejection and another possible move down, whether it's to VWAP at 42.75 or whether it's to this trough over here at 42 and a quarter. I like the look, Jay. I think you are range bound on Affirm on the day, and if that's going to be your trade on it, kill it. But for me, I really like those trending stocks, and Affirm definitely Definitely tight within that inside day. Plug continues to go to the high side. We've been mentioning this one multiple times on the show, kind of based out of here at $4.33, and then it really got going with that almost 2/3 now, $4.60 is the high on Plug Power, up 22.5% on the upgrade today from Roth MKM. Good look on Plug. I had an alert to at that 4.25, thinking maybe it comes into VWAP and I take that VWAP dip like some maybe traders in the morning got. All the trades on VWAP got bought up. I wanted another VWAP dip. I didn't get it, so I won't be participating in this name. But yeah, I'm just looking, sorry, at some of these other names. Let's bring it back into the Mag 7 names. Yeah, the NQ coming right back down here on VWAP. The NQ did reject VWAP, and we are moving right back down on some of the Mag 7 names as a result of this NQ pop into 17.3 2/3. So 17.366. We come into that area here at VWAP, and we're right back down to 17.3 1/3. So Apple getting a big move down on that rejection on the future. It popped up into 186.18, and now we are south of 186 again, 185.91. Apple, awfully weak, but we were able to squeeze some money out of it, so not bad.
Nice look, though. Yeah, like I mean, congrats on the beak wetters and the Dollar Club on Apple.
Let's see what some people are talking about here. Shorts Miller is talking about Nike dip buy 100, and Neil just yelled it too. So let's have a look at NKE. It's on the New York, guys. Did this report or something?
No, the Adidas reported, and it's going to be flat versus the prior year level, and sales down 5.
Did you see this move on Nike?
Yeah, I just pulled it up based on what was in the chat, and this is we broke off that flat bottom too, which is really interesting. So combination of technical elements and very obvious fundamental elements here too.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, talk about a sympathy move. Oh, boy.
Absolutely, yeah. And here's the headline. Thank you for that, Adara. Bang on with that headline. Adidas sees preliminary full year 2023 currency neutral revenues flat versus prior year level. Sales down 5% to 21.427 million euros. That can't be, it's got to be billion. There's no way they're making 21. They're not selling $21 million. That's got to be billion. No? There's no way. All right, whatever. Nike down 2.33% here. Maybe it makes its way down to 100. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a rough move there on Nike. Congrats to anyone who got that short, because like I said, I think the flat bottom-ish elements of it were already pretty strong without that fundamental element. I'm trying to get out of Lily right now. She's kind of breaking above that 646 in a way I don't really like. That being said, you know, I'm not saying no to the stock forever. I just right now I don't want to be involved. So. Bang button. So yeah, I'll see what she does here. This has been it's been kind of a rough trading day. To be really real here, I had a nice short in Nvidia earlier, I have to say. And Nvidia coming back into that area of interest for me, so I'm gonna look out for Nvidia. The big thing too, you know, like trades are gonna be meh sometimes, and certainly for me, I felt that struggle the last couple of days. But the thing you have to do is just brush off your shoulders and keep on going. I'm not gonna let it. Can't nobody break my stride. Can't nobody slow me down. Oh, we gotta keep it moving. So just finding more trades. Look at Nvidia coming again to that 618, 619 level. 1, twice, thrice rejected. Whew, got excited there. I like levels. If we come back to that 614, that VWAP projection, I shall short it again. I like, you know, that's why I got involved in this in the first place. Bang button.
The Katina Man is long, Nike. 101.68 is popping into 102. So the Katina Man taking the reversion trade there, baby. And there goes 102 to the high side here. Print Factory, there you go. Spin that, baby. Nike popping up off lows on sympathy to the Adidas miss there. We'll get more details on that Adidas earnings play. Yeah, there goes 102 Katina Man. Nice print there, down 2% now. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, it's okay. I'm just trying to get out of Lily because I did not get filled there, and then she kept running up. I should have gotten out of this earlier when I noticed it kind of curling, but I was thinking because we kept having this rejection. Okay, we're out. I don't like where we got out. I wish we could have got out a little bit lower. Not my best trade by far. Like I said, I never really have a huge position usually, especially with something like this. But in retrospect, I really should have noticed we were curling up for a bit of a flat top breakout here, even though right now we're a little bit positive on the day. Yeah, just kicking myself, but again, trying not to get too down. on what's happening here because there's always going to be new opportunities, right? As Obi says, where is the next trade? And that's the question I am asking right now, certainly after that moment. To talk about Tesla here, some people mentioning Tesla in the chat and my brain mentioning Tesla as well. I did take a brief short, when I say brief, I got out of here like I think 30 simulator pennies out of the money here because I noticed we had, I mean now in retrospect too that we had this failed look to the downside, but I got involved because I noticed we were kind of chopping and turning around that 190.50 area, got short there. What I'm noticing too is we have a really hard time breaking above that 191. I would like a little bit more confirmation before getting involved yet again, but I do think that 191 area is interesting for Tesla. Clear rejection earlier.
Higher lows, higher highs.
Yeah, that's true too though. Higher lows, higher highs could be a breakout, but I think this one, but it could be like another Boeing. Because Boeing,
it's trending, right?
That's
like
true. Yeah,
it's an upward channel. Like that's what you typically see in a trend, right?
Yeah, that's
higher
true.
lows, peaks and troughs, peaks and troughs. Every trough lower than the higher than the lower trough. By the way, I did ask ChatGPT about gaps. It says, in technical analysis, the idea that all gaps eventually get filled is a commonly discussed but not universally agreed upon concept. The notion that gaps get filled is derived from the observation that over time, price tends to revisit areas where a gap occurred, closing the price gap in the process. However, it's essential to note that not all gaps necessarily get filled, and the filling of a gap is not guaranteed. And then it goes on to give more information about that. Yeah, that was my thinking as well. I mean, I just couldn't see a scenario where something was up and to the right, like something like, I don't know, let's just say Apple gapped up in 2018, and then that gap never got filled because it kept pumping to the high side. I'm just giving you any random example. I just don't think that all gaps get filled, and I think it's a little bit dangerous to think like that. All right, CCL high a day. Apple coming back again into that area above 186. I've got my beak wetter at 186.21, but the real action here has been this Nike move down and this 102 reclaim here. I mean, it's not really down that much. We were trading at 103 and a quarter, 103 and a half before that big move down to 101 and a half, and we've almost made up 25% of that move right back into 102. It's Tesla here that is catching my attention, and Darryl was just talking about Tesla, and I think for very good reason, because we are about to go at least break even here on TSLA. It is now down only 0.07%, with that flat being at 191.60. We just printed 191.48 high a day on TSLA. So this one possibly about to go green. If we continue to go green, where are you looking for resistance? Well, look at this 192 flat top yesterday. This was the entire afternoon on Tesla until the bell rung and we all tanked because of the earnings missed by Google. Well, let's just say the earnings report by Google and Microsoft had a negative effect on the futures anyway, and you can just see that reflected on the chart. But this 192 and a third area here on TSLA, if we don't break that, well, then that'll be an interesting resistance level. And there's also more credence to that 192 and a third, owing to this trough that we had in yesterday's price action. We dipped there around 11:30, 12, and we were able to bounce off that before eventually breaking down below it at around 12:15. So 192 and a third, interesting level here on Tesla if it can break through yesterday's closing price at 190, 160. But yeah, nonetheless, a good move on Tesla without question, getting off that low. Now, people were, I mean, you just need to look at the half an hour chart and look at that 180 level on Tesla. Everybody was buying this when it dipped last week into that 180 level, and it didn't break 180. Look at that, and it's been stair-stepping up incrementally since that. Yeah, that 180 entry was fantastic. I know some people here got in on this bad boy. Not myself, obviously.
I like that.
Yeah, well, they know who they are. I don't call them out. But yeah, they're printing on that, so good for them. But yeah, Tesla, awfully strong right now. I would say it's the most bullish chart pattern on any of these Mag 7 names. It is not making any lower lows. I mean, on Apple, you don't have lower lows either, and neither do you have on Amazon, right? But you're not getting the kind of move to the high side that you are here on Tesla. So Tesla's the strongest of the bunch right now. Softy just dipped. What the hell is Softy? Where is it at here? Softy just dipped, guys. Softy just broke that 402 area. It's at 401 and a third now. So we were talking about this area over here on Softy at 402, 402 and a third. It has since given up the ghost on that level, and it's trending a little bit down. It's not down much, guys, 1 3/4%. But, you know, could we see 400 today on Softy? And if we do, is that an excellent dip buy at that key psychological $100 level here on Microsoft? We dipped below that ever so briefly this morning at 4:30 and 4:35 a.m. only to be bought up immediately, and that was on negligible volume. So Softy coming back into that area there. The Katina man now is short AMD at 168. So he said he was going to reload possibly there. He has done that. 40 pennies in the money as AMD rejects off 168 and comes back in 2.5% negative Adair.
Yes, also to borrow a segment that I know is also very prevalent on the market recap, let's look at Sean's Nike trade here. Sean, what is Sean tweeting? This Nike trade. It's a really beautiful look here. Scalpulation indeed. Nice long, nice bounce. Congratulations to Sean. And you can find that in the chat because he put the link there. So just shout out there. I am in this IWM trade. I will say one of the biggest things I find with trying not to get discouraged after some rougher trades, cough, cough, the Eli Lilly situation, and Tesla is just trying to trust your instincts again. You know what I mean? Because I think what happened was after that is I thought I had instincts that ended up not working out. Or I mean, I guess I did have instincts. They were the wrong instincts for whatever reason. But I think with this, what I like about this IWM is, like I said, we have this consistent, we fall off that 196.80-ish area, and we fall back to that 196, just below 196.50. Ranges, the kind of scalping and ranges I like to do. So that's what I keep my eye on. If we have this decisive break above that 197, I shall be saying au revoir and I shall be getting out. So really that's what I'm doing here. It's falling a little bit more slowly than I would like it to. We're a couple simulator pennies out of the money here. But yeah, that's the main trade I am in, the only trade I'm in right now. Also, Eli Lilly, fake out breakout over here on Miss Lilly. Because I was short, I got out because we had that decisive break over that, over that 646 area. That was where I was like, bye-bye. And then she's like, actually decided I kind of want to come back down to that range. So thank you very much, Lily, for telling us ahead of time. No, I'm joking. But yeah, still hanging out with this consolidation area. I'm not getting back involved in this unless there's a clear play. I did like this kind of rounded top, but it ended up not really coming to fruition. C'est la vie, you know, you have to use your risk principles, and mine was above 646. I hop off the lily pad. That's what ended up happening. So I'm not going to, trying not to cry over spilt milk in this trade here. Mark Susi mentioning Boeing, higher lows. Ooh, Boeing, maybe flat top break.
I hate my life.
Flat top door break, sorry, or door plug break. But yeah, no, but I mean, but that's a really good trade though.
Flat top door break.
Yeah, not to make light of what happened.
Too soon. No, I'm
yeah, that was very bad, but I'm very happy that no one got injured.
So apparently, one of the dudes who was near the door, so he was wearing a seatbelt, so he didn't get sucked out, but his shirt got ripped off. So strong was the suction. Isn't that insane?
That's crazy.
He was all sitting there shirtless, chilling, because his shirt got ripped off.
And you think it'd be cold up there too if you're like up in the air and you got no door plug?
Yeah. And you can't breathe well above 10,000 feet. The air is very thin, right? So it's,
that poor individual.
Yes, 10,000 feet was the ceiling, Ram, before they pressurized cabins. Ram, only give me the business, bro. Nimit. Nimit was asking me about GHSI, and I absolutely want to talk about this one because it's up big. I mean, let's be real about it. GHSI today is up 50 some odd percent, was much higher. But look, Nimit, I went over this earlier, and the reason I didn't get involved or even load this up on a trading screen is because it got to that $13 area around 4:30. So number one, did we break above that pre-market high? The answer was no. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the majority of the time this stock has been trading today, it's been south of VWAP. You've had a couple of attempts to break VWAP. All of them have failed. And in addition to that, we've been getting lower highs and lower lows. So if you chart from 4 a.m. onwards, it's a downward channel, right, on this bad boy. And it's just continuing down. So Nimit was asking me, he's like, look, is there a chance we get into $9? And I think that there might be a chance, Nimit, because you've had this kind of magnetic effect into VWAP only to reject. Well, right now, VWAP on my chart is at 940. So there is a chance, I think, we do make it into 9. But, I'd rather not just take those chances. But look, look, this has been a range trade. It's been a downward channel. If you got short at the tops or long on the bottoms, you've printed. That's just the fact of the matter. So there's a good chance we do at least curl back into 9.25 on GHSI. And the other one I want to look at here is Boeing, because Mark Susi is absolutely bang on. This is the crest off that, the trough off that initial big move up on Boeing, another trough, and yet another. All of them higher lows. Bang on, Mark Susi. I love how you spotted that with a possible flat top at 213. Let's say 70-ish. It could, yeah. I mean, in reality, it's really that 50-ish, because the closing prints have all retraced immediately below that 50. So essentially, in reality, it really is that 213. 50 flat top on Boeing. I think Boeing's been a hell of a trade today for whoever was smart enough to stay in it. I got in a little bit at the highs, wet my beak, and then I gave back the majority of the position there on BA. So we'll have to pack our patience to see whether or not we can bamboozle another trade. But there goes Apple, and I got my fill there at 186.20. We are stair-stepping up, even if it is, at a snail's pace, but Apple at that $186.25, we are now $1 in the money on this bad boy as it continues to head up. Apple reports after the bell tomorrow, and depending on who you listen to, Dan Ives was on last call saying that he didn't agree with that analyst from yesterday saying that iPhone sales were going to be down 15%. He said Wedbush's research showed differently. We'll have to wait and see who's right and who's wrong tomorrow. We'll find out after the bell. Go, Katina.
Was that on the last call podcast?
Oh, Katina's making me feel absolutely like crap for not having watched the podcast or listened to the podcast this past week. I told him I have a business to run. He does not care. I'm going to have to listen to it from now on, so I don't have to get, the business every day. Ram writing it in the chart there. Is it insider trading if you buy Boeing puts while in the plane as you watch the door flying away? I love it. That's actually a brilliant question. And somebody was asking. She said it's not original. She saw it on the internet. It was a meme, she said.
I was going to say, I saw that meme. That was like all over Twitter too, yeah.
Wait, did you have to do the test for certification for trading? Because you're not live, right? So
No,
you didn't do the test.
What's
so
the test?
there is a test. Yeah, you have to do it to be able to trade.
Scary. Okay.
Yeah, it's not that hard. But part of the question is they ask you about insider trading on the test, right? So insider trading has to be non-publicly available information. If a door flies off an airplane, it's public information. All right.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I'd be trading right away if I could get a sell reception. Puts, load up on those puts, baby. Yeah, that teach them to trim or cut corners in building planes. All right, Adair, what do you got over there?
Yeah, I mean, Short Smeller, shout out mentioning that Paramount is curling, and I do concur. I have a little toe dipper ready at that 1480 area because I do like this kind of rounded bottom, and then I would probably take some out of that 15.1 area, save a piece for the dream as we get towards VWAP. Yeah, and I'd be getting out if we break below that 1475. I don't want a new low. Meanwhile, I am still in IWM. That 197 rejection holding off quite nicely for the time being. We've touched it a couple times, cannot really decisively break that 197, so I am still here for the time being in the small cap ETF, although we are breaking above this now, so I'm still, like, basically my level is I don't want to get above this little flat top. That's really like what I was kind of keeping an eye out here for. So we're going to see if this does hold up here. I don't know. It has been very choppy and churny indeed. I probably got involved a little bit too early. I was kind of going with this earlier range. I am we're curling up a little bit, but until I see a higher high, I shall stay in this. Paramount, though, with the catalyst on Paramount being very interesting, Bloomberg reporting, I believe it was Bloomberg, that reporting that Byron Allen made an offer to acquire Paramount Global. So that's been very interesting. He basically was saying to, like, please take our offer. It's a good offer, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll have to see what happens with Paramount. But certainly I feel like Sherry Redstone there, lots of offers for that Paramount there in that family media company. Also, NVDA. Let me look at this again because we're kind of retraced in a way that I find interesting. Apparently Paramount rejected the offer. I did not see that. Thank you very much for telling me there, Short Smeller. I know last week, their CEO was saying that they weren't really looking towards acquisitions. I know they did layoffs last week as well. But also, we have NVIDIA rejecting back off towards VWAP, coming into that area I find interesting, which is that short off that 614 area. I want that to test a couple more times, though, before I decisively get involved. I need more proof of concept before getting involved in this trade. Yeah, Robin Sandu saying too, can you look at NVIDIA breaking lower? I would say it's kind of stutter stepping to the downside here, but that, like I said, that VWAP, it happens to be around VWAP, but it was kind of a key area earlier as well before VWAP. Sharif and I were talking about this earlier, this 614 NVIDIA. We consolidate for an hour going into open, then we bounce right back off, we fall below it with a viciousness, we come back and then we reject. That's where I got short for that scalp. Then we come back up. We coil back into that other area, that 618 top that we tested once, twice, 3 times, and then we come back down. And now I think I would argue this 614 bounce could be happening. We're bouncing back into 615. So I agree with you, Robin Sandu, definitely curling down, but I would not play with NVIDIA at this level. And by play with, I mean, like, I would maybe trade it, but I would not trust it because NVIDIA is a scary little dude at this level.
It ain't little, it's a monster. Now it's a trillion market
scary
cap.
Giant trillion market cap, dude. But yeah, trying to get into IWM right now as we speak because that is getting out of my area.
What's going on with the
interest. Oh, I was just trying to trade it off a range, and then it decided range who? Because the market doesn't care about your feelings.
It doesn't.
But that's okay. You know what I mean? We got out of IWM. Oh, NVIDIA just bouncing up here too. Like I said, that 614 area does not play. And you're right, not a little dude, massive dude here at NVIDIA. I'm sure Apple got a nice little beat off that too.
I'm pleased as punch, but right now, Michelle Hebert, one of the OGs in the chat, shout out to Michelle, yelling about BTC, and BTC just went green, guys. We're up 1/3% here on BTC, and look at this recovery on Bitcoin. We're at 43,700 on our way possibly into 44K on Bitstonk. We'll have to wait and see whether this one could head to the highs. I remember we were dancing just a little bit below that 50,000 when I did my interview with O'Leary when he said that, he didn't think that we were going to get the spot Bitcoin ETF approval by the SEC, and he was wrong on that. And it was a sell the news event though. But for how long? You wet your beak on some profits, and then the overall larger trend probably goes back into effect. So let's have a look here at the daily on Bitcoin to see where we are relative to the highs that we made initially. So the closing prints on Bitcoin were all at 46,000, say high 800s. The wicks, sure, they got into almost 49,000, especially this day over here, which was January 10th. But all the closing prints around 46.8, south of 47. So we're all well on our way. We're coming into this consolidation high over here that we had for about, let's say, from December 4th until the breakout eventually on January 1st. We were at about 44,000. Let's say it was the top end of the range. So could we expect more resistance at 44,000 again and to consolidate? We'll have to wait and see, but it's been a nice recovery for Bitcoin, now up 0.23% on the day. Maybe into that 44,000 by the time all is said and done. We'll have to wait and see. There goes Apple into 186.41. Bang, we're gonna hit the bang there, pumped. Pleased as punch, I did wait for this one. I'm gonna wet my beak here. I told you I'd be de-risking the majority of the position in front of 186.5 because that is where the institutional dark pool print was there this morning. And there was another consolidation area there prior to the open at 186.50. So I was anticipating the $0.50 to be a bit of a resistance level. We'll have to see whether that pans out or not. As per usual, I will hold a piece for the dream, though, beyond that level to wet my beak into some unusual profits. Diamond Realty of Miami, Mr. Wonderful was probably buying the dip. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, dude. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be surprised. What else we got over here? Nick Dub says Mara. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that Mara's running either. Mara's up 4 2/3% on the back of that strong Bitcoin move. Let's have a look at MARA, Marathon. It takes a bit of time to load up on my chart. I do apologize for that. Just give it a second. and it will load. Mara pumping, says everybody. 1 John 1:9 says, Stan Cho is talking about it as well. There goes Mara. So this is the 5-minute look here on Mara. And the closing print yesterday on Mara was that $18.11. Today, the high, $19.18, coming down a little bit below 19 now. A bit of a bull flag forming here, though, Adara. That big move up, and then that sideways consolidation that we talked about. That's characteristic of a bull flag. We'll have to wait and see whether we can get a break through maybe that $20 area. On Monday, the high was that 1970, 1975 area. This is what I'm talking about over here. That takes us back to Monday's action. It's been lower highs and lower lows until this break over here on Mars. So we'll have to wait and see what we get. Do you want to look at the lesson?
Yeah, I was going to say I can get the lesson started here. I just got back in this IWM short. Probably should have stayed in because we did hold that level pretty well. But yeah, I just saw we kept holding that level and hopped back in. So that is my only update there. For now, though, we are going to the lesson. I just need to get the little diagram ready. And here it is. So we're going to be talking about gaps. So what are some of the characteristics of exhaustion gaps? And I love this diagram because it kind of goes over it all. So we have the common gap, which we're talking about tomorrow, and saving the most common for last because they are literally everywhere and they happen almost daily on one stock or another. And I think certainly lots of in the wild examples for this guy. Then we have the, we've got the breakaway gap, which we talked about on Monday, measuring gap, which is when the movement is continuing, and then we've got the exhaustion gap. So this one is basically the last spurt up for this long uptrend or downtrend, because I feel like we've been a little long biased in how we're talking about these. They can also go down.
100%.
Yeah. 100%. I just noticed that now, right? And so basically the exhaustion gap is this concept that you will eventually kind of have this action peter out and there will be a gap fill, and then that will signify an ongoing move to the downside. So it is indeed a counter trend movement.
Bang.
Basically, what are some of the characteristics here? You've got a volume surge. So exhaustion gaps are unlike the measuring or the runaway or the continuation gap, whatever term you use. These ones do involve a notable increase in trading volume because it does reflect the heightened activity that we have as these market participants are running to get the last breath of movement here to take advantage of that last trend leg. Also, large price movements. Oh, look at that. Large price movement, another aspect that's going to be important here. I like that too. It's funky.
Yeah, it's really good.
Shout out to Fabian and Ramin, always. And so large price movement, basically, you are going to get a big surge. I mean, it's a gap, right? So you're going to get a big move up or a big move down here in the direction of whatever the prevailing trend was. In this case, this is an example long, so we got a big move up, but it could be short, and then it would be a big move down, or sorry, a bear movement. And basically, this shows this last push is intense because we've got volume going into it, and a large, it's a large movement in and of itself. Then basically the last piece is going to be some kind of catalyst for a reversal. So you have your exhaustion gap, you're kind of petering out a little bit, the momentum is fading, and then, for example, your door falls off, or your door, or some kind of really negative catalyst, or a really positive catalyst. I'm sorry, I'm bullying Bowen today.
You can bully it all you want.
I mean, the market certainly isn't.
Yeah,
so,
no, true, right?
And I mean, maybe they should. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that you need that the thing that will clinch this being an exhaustion gap and then end of the movement is going to be that catalyst, or usually fundamental, or whatever, like we run out of momentum, maybe it's a short sell report, or I guess a long report. But for whatever reason, this catalyst moves the market in a very different direction, and that'll be your sign that, hey, this exhaustion gap has indeed taken effect. So what are some of the ways that you could identify an exhaustion gap other than these characteristics we just looked at? Volume analysis. You really want to look at the volume during the gap because, as we said, they often will have a surge in volume, and that'll show, hey, this is going to be our final push of buying interest in the case of this example, or selling interest, because again, these can also be moving to the downside. It can move in either direction. We also have price extremes. So this exhaustion gaps will often occur after we have this prolonged trend, and then with that volume movement, we'll also have a big last movement of exhaustion. Buyers really running it up, or sellers really running it down for that one last time with that extreme volume, and that'll show, hey, there's a little bit of madness going on in the stock. Can it sustain it? And if it can't, that's an exhaustion gap, baby. Then we have the confirmation. I don't know why I said that.
I like
confirmation indicators. Thank you. These basically, it's using, if you use technical indicators, as we always said, we always want confluence, right?
Yes.
And I know as Opie said too, speaking of confluence, sometimes we'll have like certain levels that are magnets, or if you have, especially for something that is counter trend, which we'll get to, uno momento, por favor. If you have your oscillator, or if you have a MACD, anything that is working in in tandem with the direction that we're seeing, or to kind of show, or even with these RSIs or anything like that, showing, hey, like we might be overbought, oversold, we might be reversing, just things to keep in mind, because that can be really important here.
And RSI divergence, I want to point that out, Adara. So if we're making higher highs on the price action but lower highs on the RSI, that's another thing to keep an eye. Same thing with MACD. If you're making higher highs on the price but lower highs on the MACD, and you have an exhaustion gap, that could be a signal for the filling of the gap, because it is an exhaustion gap. I want to point that out. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yep.
So yeah, something else to keep an eye on here as well is going to be, do we have anything confirming this move? Maybe even, I guess you could say, if you're like, you could do maybe even crosses, like if you have a golden cross when you're, I guess you wouldn't if you're in a bull market, but anything that is like signifies, or sorry, bear market, anything that signifies some kind of reversal is what I'm trying to say. I think really important. But now, what are some of the strategies you can use with these stocks? Well, one of them, Sharif might not be getting involved in, because it's counter trend trading. This what basically the idea that you're positioning yourself against the prevailing movement. When you start to see this move down, that's when you want to strike, when the iron's hot. Or if it's in a bear market and we start to see a curl up, that's when we want to get going. Of course, these are a little bit riskier. I know personally with that Eli Lilly trade earlier, right? Counter trend trading, or trying to guess where the movement is, even if you do have some confirmation, could always be a skosh risky. So that's where the second part of the strategy comes in. That is risk management. You really want to have strict risk management in play always, but especially if you are trading something in a counter trend way. And as Sharif was saying, the whole idea of setting your stop loss kind of at the top of the trend might be a good move if you're going to play an exhaustion gap or something like that too, right? Or if it's the long, you're going to do the opposite, maybe set it your stop loss at the bottom of the trend line.
Yeah.
And obviously too, not everything is going to move the same way. This is clearly a trend line, but it could be any kind of movement after that exhaustion gap that shows, hey, something is amiss. This trend may be a changing. Shout out to Bob Dylan, that's the times they are changing. But same kind of idea there, the idea that, hey, the market, new tide here in the market, new energy, and maybe a new way to trade this stock, especially after this prolonged movement that we had. So exhaustion gap, basically, to put it very briefly, to sum it up, it's when the stock gives up the ghost.
It does. Yes. Thank you for that, Adair. Well said, succinct. We've been talking about gaps all week, guys. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the most occurred, or the most frequently occurring gap, which are common gaps, which don't really mean anything other than short-term price strength or weakness on the daily chart. And we'll be looking at some ways in order to be able to determine whether something is one of the gaps we previously talked about, or whether it's a common gap, in which case we can disregard it. So make sure to tune in tomorrow for the, I guess, the final gap day, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do on Friday, because there's only 4 types of gaps. I mean, we can't make a 5th gap just because there's a Friday. So we'll have to wait and see what Friday brings. Guys, I'm keeping my eye here on Boeing. I feel like we're getting a bit of a compression pattern on this one. This is the 1-minute chart on BA. It's up 6%. It's having trouble really holding that 213. It breaks a bit above it, a little bit below it. The higher lows are obvious to me here, but so are the lower highs. So that's why I'm saying a bit of a bull flag, bull pennant, pardon me, as it is compressing. But how do you get in this? Well, you got to get in the bottom end of the range, okay? And where do you get out if you're wrong? Well, if you were to get in here, I would say you're likely wrong through the break of 212, let's say 10, because then that's going to be a newer low, and that's not what we want. We want a compression with a move into the high side. So Boeing, definitely still on watch. I had one trade on this. I ended up having profitable and then gave it back here on the break. Should have been looking to get in again on this name, but alas, it was not to be. I am now also looking at CCL, because CCL, we were talking about this one, maybe having trouble breaking through 1710. It is now above 1710, and it's making a series of higher highs and higher lows. So the cruise names are awfully strong today, or are they? Let's see if they're all strong. Yes, they're all positive on the name. Whether you're CCL, RCL, NCLH, or LIND, they are all up on the day. And I'm not really exactly sure why all of them are up. Why are all of them up? Here, hold on. Holland America line takes cruisers to the iconic sites of what? Nah, that's not it. I'm just looking to see
those
why.
like random headlines.
Yeah. Oh, maybe RCL is. Are they recording
RCL's
soon?
tonight. Or tomorrow
RCL
morning,
is
I think.
tonight.
Tomorrow
Oh yeah,
morning.
here we go.
Sorry.
So Royal Caribbean earnings outlook. Maybe I guess there's something positive on this. Let's see if NCLH has anything here. Demystifying Norwegian cruise line insights. No, that's not it. Okay, I don't need anything demystified. But Susquehanna did maintain neutral on Norwegian with a price target of 20, which would mean a bit of an upside, about $1.75 from where it's trading at right now. It's trading at 18.25. So yeah, positive on the day. Just no trades for me on these names. We were able to wet our beak here through the break of 186.40 on Apple. It is coming back down now into that 186.20-ish area. Let's see if it holds up here, because we did have a bit of a top before we rejected at this 186.15, 186.20. So we'll see if it bases out here and curls back up. I will be de-risking this at the 50, and then I'm going to hold a piece for the dream to see if we can continue to trend back up. But it looks like Meta and Amazon are both curling up right now, and maybe even NVIDIA. So let's flip back into Meta from CCL here. That ain't it. That's Powell. META on the NQ. It's right back at that 395.5. This is where the pivots are on Meta. So just show you my chart real quick here. Initially, we broke through the pivots. Now let's see if they act as resistance or support. Initially, here, right here, we did get in a 396, and it looks like a third rejection. So it didn't really respect pivots, but we'll keep watching Meta as it's starting to curl here. Maybe putting in a bit of a roundy face for another test of that 398 high that we have on Meta. Good look so far on the day. Definitely one of the strongest of the Mag 7 names. But I see NVIDIA also putting in higher lows and maybe a higher high here. Initially did reject off the 200, but it did put in that low at 614 and held up at VWAP. If it breaks above that 618 area, that'll be interesting, because that'll be another higher high. Let's go ahead and put an alert at this 617.75 to see if we do get up there. Maybe we could bamboozle a trade through the break there and maybe test 620.75. That is the high from earlier on. So good strength coming in midday here on the Mag 7 names. We are exactly 45 minutes away from the Fed rate decision, which is, widely expected to be a nothing burger, that we are going to hold up at the current rate that we have, the Fed funds rate. What the market will be looking for, number one, is the letter or the statement that's released and any additions or subtractions to that statement as compared to the last time around. We'll also be waiting for Papa Powell to get on the mic at 2:30. He is anticipated to be a bit more hawkish this time around. Last time, his speech was widely interpreted as being dovish. Add to that the three rate cuts that they projected in the dot plot that was released last time. So there was all sorts of these dovish indicators last time. Do we get that around this time? Market participants, the majority of them anyway, saying that we're likely to encounter a bit more of a hawkish tone. So if that's the case, then the market will probably sell off after that. There goes Meta through that 395.5, and now it's into 396. So stop yapping about it. Take it, man. My goodness. That's the second trade today I've missed on Meta. Very strong. It's curling back up here. Look for an initial resistance level at that 396.5, because that's where we crested out last time. If we don't stop at 396.5, it's an open look into 398 possibly and beyond. But Meta getting a lot of a big push right now. A lot of a big push. That's excellent English right there.
Damn you.
Oh, I didn't even notice he was behind me. He pulled a Randy on me right there.
Nice walk.
How was it? How is it outside? It's 5 degrees, I heard. Yeah, it's really nice. Pumped about that. Shout out to the Katina, man. All right, so that's a look there. Derek Thompson says if it's hawkish, will it still go up? I mean, I don't think so, but we'll have to wait and see. Typically, if you have a statement by Jerome Powell that rate cuts are going to get kicked down the road and maybe not front-loaded into March or June, which is what the market was expecting, then maybe we definitely get a big move down on the NQ. How big, how substantial, who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. Only about, an hour and 10 minutes away from that speech, as he is slated to come on at 2:30 Adara.
I still think it's awesome that that stock called Powell ran on Powell Day, and congrats to you for getting involved in that name. Also, I'm really sorry to say it, Sharif, I actually am involved in Meta.
Oh,
I felt really bad because we're talking about the 396 break.
Well, better you take it. I mean, at least one of us took it, put it that way.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we're all, teamwork makes the dream work. We're all very supportive up in here, and which I appreciate. Thank you. But yeah, you were very right about that 396.27 resistance. I also saw that. We know what I'm like. I always take stuff as we kind of go here. So I was trying to, the beak will just not get wet. The duck does not want to dip its little beak into this area, which is a little frustrating. But yeah, basically I'm trying to get part of the position out there if Meta decides it would like me. There we go. Thank you, Meta. Much appreciated. Muchas gracias. Getting out the rest at 398, just shy of 398 should we get there, because I would agree with you. It looks like pretty smooth sailing once you get past decisively that 396.25
Good for you for
area.
wetting the beak at the resistance level and then let it run. Good for you. That's a perfect trade. I wish I'd taken that trade.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I think too, and thank you for your analysis on that one as well. And I think too, like I said, I have a hard time just holding on to things, but because we did have that previous high in Meta, I feel a lot better about it. You know what I mean? I know, hey, that's going to be my out there. So I really appreciate that. We'll see what we shall see. IWM, I got back in on this, and then because we ended up touching kind of at that previous, it was like basically resistance becoming support a little bit here. We're still kind of, I might reload here if we get back down at that 197.10 area. So I'm going to have to wait and see what's happening there. But yeah, some nice trades in the sim here, learning and growing, and hopefully it shows at some point. Definitely some rougher trades today, but like I said, my main thing right now has just been like brushing the dirt off the shoulders and getting back up when things go awry.
Excellent.
Hog Rider saying, Lily going. Yeah, she went. She did go. She went off at 644. I tried to short this just because it looked a little rounded top-ish earlier. Didn't come to fruition, but we're having a really, honestly, this one just seems to be sitting at that 644 to a level where I probably wouldn't get back involved in this. It's not really rangy enough for me at this point.
The Novo Nordisk CEO was on CNBC this morning on Squawk Box, and he was being grilled about, because it's a Danish company, right?
Yeah.
So they're selling their GLP-1s in Denmark for like a fraction of the price they're selling it in the United States. So he asked him, he's like, so why are you selling the drug cheaper in your home country? Is it costing you more to make in the US? He's like, no. So he's like, well, then why are you selling it more expensive? Right, so he's basically putting the guy on the spot, because anybody who knows anything, you know that drug prices are an issue in the United States. We don't really have that as much of a problem in Canada, where there is laws regulating the price of pharmaceuticals. But I love how he put him under that. And then obviously there was other commentary from him about demand for GLPs, safety of GLPs, but he was on there. I thought it'd be important to talk about because Eli Lilly obviously is a competitor of Novo Nordisk there. So yeah, he had some interesting comments today. I don't think he could even really answer the question as to why they were selling. You know what he said to him? He's like, oh, we're working with, individuals that looking for, support to buy drugs, and we're looking to negotiate with certain states to drop the price because North Carolina stopped covering it.
Oh,
they stopped covering all GLP-1s, right? So he was asking specifically, he's like, well, they're stopped covering because the price is so expensive. Why are you selling it more expensive here? He's like, we're always willing to negotiate and help out and this, that, and the other. So it's not a good look anyway. So anyway, because we can, says Raul, says, yeah, it is a free market society, right? I mean, it is a free market system, I mean. Whether you feel that way about drugs or pharmaceuticals or not, I mean, that's your opinion and you're entitled to it. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, Boeing coming down. Now Boeing just made a newer low there. So giving up the ghost is Boeing at 212, and we're coming in possibly here into 211.15. Let's keep an eye on this trough over here at this 211.50, excuse me. Let's keep an eye on this trough to see if it breaks on a closing basis, and if we do, then really the low after that is going to be that 210.75, and I'm seeing a lot of blue show up on my tape. And blue, if you're wondering, is below the bid, meaning it's showing that whoever is selling is so motivated to sell that they are willing to print below what the bid was, and at that time it was like 53. So we'll wait and see whether this move down is sustained, because it was a series of lower highs, and now we got a lower low. So where do we go for here from Boeing? Unsure, to be honest with you. 5.5% to the good today, but where do we find some support? We'll have to wait possibly for that 211 level to come in. That's where we troughed out after that initial big move off that 205 right into 213 that we got at the open there on BA. Obviously, Boeing reported this morning. It was a bit of a mixed result. They lost about $600 some odd million last year. They only lost about $60 million this year. So it's a welcome change, obviously. But with respect to the headlines continue to be negative. And that probably has something to do with where the stock is trading at the moment. So. All right,
nice
what is everybody else looking at, guys? John Hand says taxpayers subsidize pharmaceutical companies with taxes, then they turn around and upcharge. They double dip. Interesting take. Slav, also Danish economy consists of 3 big companies, Merckx, Novo Nordisk, and Lego. So they have a lot of leverage, and it's a synthetical relationship they have with the government. That's an interesting take there as well. Very, very interesting stuff here. What else is being... Don't do drugs because they are sweet, says Casey. What kind of a comment is that? Slav actually said before the comment I just read, he said European countries subsidize drug and healthcare costs. What a dumb question. Only possible in the U.S. Well, in Canada, we don't subsidize drug costs, but we actually just cap it statutorily. So I don't think the subsidy is just, it's not the exclusive decider there of price. You can just allow your margins to contract in one jurisdiction and make up for it in another, and then so your overall global sales balance out. So I see your point. I just don't necessarily agree with your conclusion. Anyway, what's your look there, Daryl?
Yeah, I mean, Meta struggling a little bit at that 396 here. We did have a little bit of a pop-up and then kind of swoop back down. I'm going to be very cognizant of what we do here. And I would, if we come back and hold this 395, like where it got in area decently, I would maybe, add a little toe dipper there, reload the position a skosh. But I'd rather, I think I'd rather just ride this wave up here. Very proud of myself for only getting part of the position out, because as we know, that is a little hard for me. I do have the overwhelming tendency to dump my position and run screaming for the hills. But I do like the setup here. And, Sharif called it earlier, like it is that 396 and some change. First area of resistance. Second, definitely going to be that 398. We are having a little bit more trouble around 396 than I originally thought, though. Looks like we are trying to make a bit of a curl down, so I'm going to just be really cognizant of that. In the meantime, though, I do have another trade to chat about and smile about, because I'm pleased as punch about what happened with this second
Plug.
IWM drop. What's happening with Plug?
Plug is flying.
Oh my God.
I didn't even notice until somebody said in the chat. Here we go again on Plug Power. And you know what? It's held the 10-period EMA like a glove, like that magnetic effect that the OB1, the Kenobi was talking about a couple of weeks ago. It is showing itself today on Plug Power because it's sticking to that green line. That green line on my chart is the 10 EMA. It is on its way possibly to $5 here. We're at 477 high, and we're up 27.33% a day. Today, we started off the morning at 370. Now we're 470. That might not seem a lot to some people, but a dollar move on a $3 and a quarter name is a lot. And right now it is at highs as we speak. So Plug Power continuing to pump to the high side. I mean, you're going to have to go back a while to find a resistance level here for Plug Power. And yeah, you got to go back to at least January 2nd, the last time we were up here. We topped out that day at 484. Sorry to interrupt you there. I just wanted to mention the fact that Plug Power was pumping.
No, I appreciate that. Like Plug, certainly, like I said, powered up here for Plug Power with that Roth MKM upgrade. So yeah, I had this, basically what I've been trying to do is play this IWM range because we've just been kind of curling up here. Pretty reliable from that 197 and change down to that 196.80, 196.75 area. So that's really what I'm trying to play here. I'm going to take this up to around 197, get out. If it continues to hold, I'll go short this again. If we have this decisive break out of this range, I am leaving this trade. I will say the one thing I'm kind of disappointed about is when I first took this short, which I will admit I got in too early, I should have reloaded instead of getting out and then hopping right back in after. I thought this was going to be a lot more of a pop here than it ended up being. So risk management principles, you go a little bit awry there, but you know, it is what it is. And like I said, my main thing today has just been trying to, when things go wrong, and with trading, they sometimes do, just getting back up and like not letting it impact the whole day. You know what I mean? Because to quote Obi, we're always quoting Obi around here, where is the next trade? And that's really a huge philosophy. As you know, especially learning and just trying to make sure, trying to get consistent. That's my main thing. Because right now, I will say the consistency is a skosh of an issue. You know what I mean? Like you'll have good days, you'll have bad days. I'm just trying to make sure that the good days are outweighing here. Also, Nova Nordisk rejecting off that 116 with a viciousness. This is a double top.
Dang.
Swoop, swoop. I want to wait for a little bit more confirmation here. We just dropped 50 pennies in one singular candle. So that's going to be a nice look here.
The Katina Man is printing on AMD off that 169 short, and down goes AMD through 168. It is now 167 and 3/4 there, Dara. The market also retracing off that 17.4 rejection on the NQ. Ooh. We're coming back into 17.375. We just had a 17.4 touch that I totally was unaware of, and that is likely why we are retracing a little bit here on some of these Mag 7 and tech names. This is the 17.4 touch I'm talking about. It's a quick touch and a quick rejection. We're still above VWAP though, so look for possible previous resistance, and by that I mean VWAP at 17.3 and 2/3 to act now as support. Do we bounce off that, or do we break down and make lower lows? Because right now, off that bottom, Adara, at 17.283 in the morning, we've been making higher highs and higher lows ever since then. So it's been an upward channel on the future. That is, of course, until we got to 17.4, and then we have these two big outsized red candles now. Keep your eye, though, on that VWAP area for a possible level of support, because it was definitely resistance earlier on.
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on this, too, because Meta, poor little Meta, had a Meta fall down here. We got to this 396.25 area. We did reject, but we're holding back around my area of entry pretty well. So I'm considering adding a couple beak wetters, or not beak wetters, I guess, adding to the position here, reloading so that I could have a little bit more beak wetters sprinkled along the road, or like, I don't know, Hansel and Gretel sprinkling the breadcrumbs here up into that glorious 398 Acme from earlier in today, that beautiful peak. We'll see if we can come into that, but I do think this 395.25 hold is not anything I would like to scoff at. If we have this decisive 395 break out of this little area, especially given like the chopping and trading we had earlier, I'm going to have to say sayonara to this trade. In the meantime, this IWM range is just ranging. And like I said, I'm trying to get back more into my swing of things, which is seeing clear levels, trading off of set levels. That was what Meta was for me. That's what this IWM has been.
There's getting pumped really up over here.
You know, like I said, a little bit discouraged earlier today. Cough, cough, Eli Lilly. But really, like, just try to stay positive, right? And I think that's the big thing. Is I know it's a little bit different. I am in the sim, but like I said, I really want to take this seriously. And I think I do. You know, you do kick yourself a little bit when things don't go well, and you're not trusting your instincts. Yeah. But I think the thing is just not letting one trade impact your whole vibe there. Thank you so much, Lone Sofos in the chat, much appreciated. Yeah, Meta getting nice. I might reload Meta here.
Yeah,
everything's moving. How's Apple going?
It's really, we're still a buck in the money, but Mira is telling me about Intel. And I just typed in Mira, where I should be typing INTC. That's funny. Intel apparently is pumping here, according to Mira. So let's have a look at what Intel is doing. It is, I don't want to say the only green name in microchip world. Obviously, their SMCI is green, Qualcomm is green, ASML is also green. But look at Intel here, up 2/3%, running counter to the, hit it, Katina Man. I saw him, he wanted to hit the dollar clip for a while, but we kept yapping. Katina Man, dollar in the money, over $1 in the money now on that AMD short. Shout out to him, down 2.5% is AMD on lackluster earnings yesterday. Shout out to Lisa Sue and her crew. But no, for real, guys, an interesting look here, though, on Intel. pumping up, started really getting going here at around 12:30 for whatever reason. The buying started coming in because we broke through that flat top that we had around 42.75, 42.80, and now we're well removed from that level, breaking through the whole dollar level of 43 and on our way into 43.25. We'll have to wait and see whether the momentum to the high side can subsist here on Intel, but good call out from Mira. I didn't actually notice that earlier on. Shout out to you. I hope you're involved in that name. And then I'm getting all sorts of interesting derivatives of Intel names. I like Damien Oliveira's derivative there, giving us an indication of how he feels about Intel. I think Neil would be upset about that. I think Neil likes them. And the conversation today that I had with Neil was quite interesting because we were talking about the geopolitics of this bad boy. And the fact is that Taiwan Semiconductor is the biggest foundry, it's the biggest chip maker in the world, but it has one major flaw. It's a little close to China, and that makes the Western world a little bit nervous. And so there is this move to onshore chip making, whether into Europe or whether into North America. And I think the biggest benefactor of that is going to be these North American companies like ARM, Intel, and some others. We'll have to see, how they end up doing a year or 2 years from now, but I think it is a good look. And if you're able to weather the short-term storms with some of the issues that they're having, they're spending a lot of money to build out these gigafactories. These foundries, excuse me. So that's obviously going to have issues on margins and balance sheets. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Nick Dub, $10 super chat. Shout out to Big Nick Dub. Hey Sharif. I'm planning to initiate a swing position on MDGL tomorrow. I really like the daily setup support at SMA of 50 and 200. Piper Sandler raised the price target to 336. Also, thoughts on ALGN half swing. We're going to look at both of those right now. Allow me an opportunity here to load up my side chart. Let's look at the first one here, which is MDGL. I don't know what this stock is, so we're going to have to look. MDGL. Madrigal Pharmaceuticals. Okay, so this company, clinical stage biopharm company, where are they from? All right, well, that's not important. 4.42 billion market cap, excuse me. Let's look at the daily. They're US, says the Katina man, MDGL. Let's have a look over here. So they really got going for whatever reason. In December of 2022, look at that fly up there from $60 to $314 in a matter of 2 days. That's insane. What is that? Then you obviously had a big retracement there from essentially May of this year, and we bottomed out in October of this year. Much like a lot of the things on the market, we bottomed out in October of 2023. Since that time, we've been pumping. So off the bottom in October to the highs that we just recently made, we've pumped up over 100% since October lows, okay? That's nice. Now let's talk about the technical levels. So this is what I see, Nick. I see us coming into this consolidation area. Look at this consolidation area that we had between March of 2023 till about mid-April. This area here from around 220 bucks. Around 250 bucks, so about a $30 range that we ranged for about a month and a half, and it looks like we are stuck right back into that range again, with 220, 210 being that low area, and the top area being that mid 240, like 245, so mid 240s. So if we get a nice close above this area, above 250, that's fantastic. So looks like you're holding for a swing for earnings. Look, it's a great name. I got to tell you, off 100% off the bottom. I don't know what the hell this company did in December of 2022, but something shot it up off 60 into 300. So something's obviously being developed there. If you get a closing print above 250 on that earnings, I think it's a hell of a look. Now you're asking me about a fundamental question about earnings, but you're asking me to look at a technical level, and that's all I can give you. And you got the golden cross right here too, where the 50 crossed the 200. That happened about December 20th. Since that time, though, it's been quite consolidative. So this could be a bull flag, too, on the daily, by the way. That big move up and then that sideways consolidation. You might get that gap. And if you get that gap, that's exactly what I'll be talking about for a continuation gap. Like that big move up, that sideways consolidation, and then a catalyst like earnings shoots it up maybe into that 250, 260 area. I like this. It's a good technical, it's a good look here on the chart, especially if you can break up from this consolidation area. The other one he wanted me to have a look at is ALGN. Let's have a look at that one. ALGN.
Algen?
I don't know what this is.
Align.
ALGN. Let's find out what it is. Align Technology. What do they do? Medical device company. Big market cap, about 21 billion. This one is also at a very interesting level. Surprise, surprise. Resistance, or sorry, support over here at around 280 is becoming resistance again. So very similar look, Nick, where it bottomed out in October and then shot up. Since that October bottom, we're up about 56% off that October bottom. We're below the 200 right now. You didn't get the golden cross between the 50 and the 200 quite yet like you did on the other one on MDGL. But again, if this one is able to take that previous area of support, now resistance at 280, and clear that, that's going to be interesting. It's making higher lows as well and holding that 50 period to a glove on the daily. And look at this. Is this an initiation gap? Oh, ooh, look at this. That's an interesting look right there. That happened between December 13th and December 14th. So we'll wait and see if maybe this is an initiation. It has above average volume as well. Wow, look at this down gap though, Dara.
Oh my God.
Look at that. That's probably an exhaustion gap.
That looks like
This is an exhaustion gap to the downside because what followed was an uptrend and a filling of the gap. So this is a perfect example of an exhaustion gap. There you go, guys. One in the wild right there. And, Adara, do you remember what we said about exhaustion gaps and volume? Higher volume, right? Look at that volume. That's insane. It was over 3 million shares relative to this name, right? I didn't put in the ticker over here. ALGN.
That's cool. I like that.
ALGN. Yeah. All right. What do you got over there?
Yeah, still in this meta. I did reload because we were holding that 395 and change area pretty well, but I think this solid rejection off 396 does have me a little bit nervous. Even if I can just get back up to 396, wet the beak, hold a piece for the dream, and then just kind of go back to that 396, you know what I mean? Just playing around this level. I think that'll certainly be of interest to me. Also, shout out to Sean here in this AMD trade, sharing this here. Go AMD, sticky note play, short. Congrats there. So update, because you will be seeing Sean and Neil very shortly. Congrats and shout out for that trade. Yeah, just a few minutes left here because we do have that the Powell moment with with Jerome Powell, who the Powell stock was running today, which is like the funniest thing. Let's look at Powell. Congrats to Sharif earlier, kicking this one out of the park. Now this one kind of interesting. Now we kind of fell down a little bit to that 118 area, curling back up. We'll have to see what we do here, but it's holding that 9 EMA like a dang glove. Let's look at Novo Nordisk as well. Another move that had a massive move up and then a bit of a rejection here. That 116 coming into play, but this one also holding the 9 EMA. Oddly a similar look to Powell, although Powell ran up like 50%. That was also an earnings move here. Yeah, and I think too, some people saying Powell always sends the markets higher. We'll have to wait and see what he does here, but we won't have to wait too long, fortunately enough, because we will have that here for you. But yeah, I mean, Novo Nordisk, like I said, I'm not sure I know which direction to play this. I would like to see this collapse kind of around that 115, because 115 was a little consolidative earlier. I want to have a decisive knowledge of that before I get involved. Meanwhile, NVIDIA getting back into my area of interest, which I feel like I've been saying this all day. NVIDIA 614 has been really interesting. I got in earlier off that VWAP projection. NVIDIA 614 chopping and turning in the pre-market, as pointed out by Sharif. We had a bounce off that 614 as we dip below VWAP here at 1250. NVIDIA looking to bounce again off that 614. I think I saw someone saying a potential flat bottom break here. I don't want to diagnose a movement before it happens, but I wouldn't say it's impossible, given that we do have that 614 bottom holding like a glove. What a level. Oh my God. Yeah, this market's just been crazy. Meta's trying to go back up, and I mean, power to her. I would love for her to have that little move at the end of the midday here. But what a dang day. How goes Apple?
We're still $1 in the money on AAPL. Adara, we're going to be off about 15 minutes earlier today. Yeah, I didn't know if you knew. So the big kahunas will be taking over at a quarter to the hour because we do have the Fed rate decision coming up at 2 o'clock, and then we have Jerome Powell going on the mic at 2:30. Brendo, as he typically does, will have the comparison between the previous release statement and the current statement to see whether any additions or subtractions were made and what they were, whether they were material or not. We'll also be looking to see whether we get a dot plot with new Fed rate or with new projections about where they see interest rates in the future. Last time around, it was projected that we would get 3 rate cuts, and then the market priced in that first rate cut in March. That's since been kicked down the road. We're talking about June now, so we'll have to wait and see what Jerome Powell has to say today. Important day for the markets, and make sure to stay tuned with us between now and the closing show, because more earnings today on the Market Recap Show. We are in the heart of earnings season, so make sure to stay around after that and catch. Do you have anybody on today with you? Somebody. Katina says somebody's on with him. All right, guys. What do we got here? Big Kyle Burdett. Don't forget to love the Come on, Kyle. You got me with that one. Usually I read them before I read them out loud. Rumble apparently is now on its way into $7, 12 2/3% to the good today is Rumble. Let's have a look at that chart real quick here before we send it up to Brendo at the big desk in about 2 minutes. This is the look on Rumble, and we did base out yesterday just south of that $6 area. But we were able to get above $6 for the close. Today, the low was $5.95, and we have not looked back. We're about $1 removed off that low on Rumble. It continues to be a good name, essentially moving on the back of the U.S. Republican primaries. It really started to get going there when Donald Trump won the Iowa caucus, and then subsequent to that, the New Hampshire caucus. I think next on the list is South Carolina. So we'll have to wait and see how he does there. That is Nikki Haley's home state, so that will be an interesting.
I was gonna say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be an interesting to see if she hangs around after that or not. Again, we don't really talk politics, but in this case, it's moving Rumble, it's moving DWAC, it's moving Funware. So it is appropriate. I'll send it to you so you can head on.
Yeah, Rumble's rumbling. Meta is trying to decide what she wants to be when she grows up. Just the normal things that happen with these stocks. And on this show, I thank you so much to Callum, Mitchell Miller, Crazy Stitch Lady, everybody for the support. Much appreciated. And Meta decided to run there, so that was nice. All I had to do was just talk to her and she moved. But yeah, I hope everybody's been having a great day trading. We've been having a lot of fun here on How to Trade / Midday. But for now, we're going to see a whole different man here. His name will be Jerome Powell in a couple seconds coming up here. But we will see you tomorrow for more gaps. Same bat time, same bat channel. For now, Brendan and Jerome Powell at the big desk.
There we go. Hi, guys. It's not 2 o'clock. It's 1:45. We're going to get you set here.